What's going on, everybody?
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. We're going to wait a few minutes for others to trickle into the stream, but we're going to get started shortly with Super Mario Galaxy 2. So how is everybody doing tonight? And actually, the chat is...
Oh, the chat's not there.
Yeah, let me fix that real quick.
You said you had all this time to prepare, and you still weren't prepared.
I'm trying. That's not it.
Oh, wait. It was there.
That was
just,
that was not it. Chat is... Oh, yeah. There we go. Nope, that's not
That one?
it. It's because I refreshed it. I didn't like it. But sorry, 1 second.
Well, while he's fixing that, let's see, yesterday I went and saw Dune Part 2 at the movie theater. I did like it.
There we go.
I've read the book and I've seen the first part, and I've also seen the movie from the 70s, the David Lynch film. I thought Part 2 was pretty good, but I just wish... So the thing about...
Ooh, sorry.
So I don't know if you know much about Dune, you or the chat. It's kind of it's like the book itself is like, it's super grand and like epic, but it's also like really weird. And I feel like the movie from the 70s, it really that movie really is kind of a weird movie. All the characters are kind of played to the extreme. They're kind of goofy and silly. Meanwhile, the recent movies are they make everything like super epic and serious, and the fight scenes are really amazing, and the music is really epic. But I kind of wish that there was like a movie that kind of was in between those two extremes, so they try to make it like really epic but also really weird. That's basically what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I'd still recommend the new movies. I would also recommend reading the book, because the book is probably the best way to read
Experience
about that.
it?
Yeah, experience that story.
Sorry, I'm just playing with the chat box right now, trying to get it evened out. There we go.
There we go.
You know, I don't touch any settings in OBS whatsoever, and every single time I put the chat back on the screen, the dimensions of the box itself changes slightly, so I always have to update it. Otherwise, you can't read the full comment. So, I want to say hello to everybody. We've got Walkup and Williams Physical Media, Josh Man, Bolt Mouse, Viddies Gaming Videos, TJ, Dean Gavitt, and that's it for now. So thank you all for coming. There's actually more of you than what I just said, but at least there's 19 of you right now in the stream. So thank you again for coming out. We're gonna have some fun tonight. And there was a question that I saw from Josh Man. What was the main reason we did not get a stream this past weekend? It was because I was on a business trip the last week, and it was a full week, and I got home late Friday night, and I just wanted some time to decompress. And Mr. Toad, there you are. Welcome back. So anyway, that's why we didn't get a stream. It was just too tired.
Yeah.
So, but we're back again and ready to go.
Joshman55 Gamer, are there any witches in the new Dune Part 2 movie? If by witches you mean the Bene Gesserit, or like the, what are they called? The Reverend Mothers. They are in the movie. They're not in it like too much, but yeah, basically those characters are in there.
Okay, let's get started. We're 7 minutes into the live stream. Let's get started with Super Mario Galaxy 2.
It's time for the Super Mario Galaxy 2 review for the Wii. This is my 1-year anniversary
I love
review.
how you just
and what better
don't
game
even
to start the new
acknowledge, like,
reviewing year
yeah,
off
I
with
did
one
that.
of the most
Yeah.
anticipated games for the Wii. So, let's get started. The beginning of the story is very similar to Galaxy 1. Peach has sent Mario a letter telling him to come to her castle. As you start out, the game is set in a 2D retro style. If you've never played a Mario game before, you will of course not know the story of this game. To everyone else, do I even need to explain it? Just take a wild guess at what the story could be. Yep, that's right. Peach has been kidnapped by Bowser again for the umpteenth time. However,
The
this time
audio
Bowser
just
has grown to
peaked
planet
right
size
there.
and says he is
I
building
know.
himself a galactic empire. So with Peach in his grasp, Bowser heads off into the Sea of Stars. Immediately, Mario launches himself into space using a launch star. Eventually, Mario meets up with Lubba, a corpulent Luma who resides on a fairly smallish planet with a handful of other Lumas. He tells Mario that the planet they're on is actually a spaceship, but there's no fuel for it. He makes Mario a deal. Mario will go out into the different galaxies and collect fuel for the ship, which are power stars, and in return, the ship will be handed over to Mario as his own while he searches for Peach. So of course, Mario agrees and the ship is turned into Mario's head. Talk about a personalized ship! So after that, Mario sets off in search of the power stars. Unlike the prequel, getting to each level is set up like a map, like you would find in certain 2D Mario games. If you played the original Galaxy, you will become very familiar with the gameplay of each level in this game. Each galaxy will usually consist of Mario having to make his way through the levels, which are sometimes miniature planets with their own gravitational pull, but a lot of them are also oddly shaped globs of mass. The goal of each level is to find the power star. Each level, depending on how skilled you are, can probably take up a max of 10 minutes to complete. But don't think it'll be easy. Many of the levels can be quite challenging to beat. Now there are some levels where obtaining the star is just a little too easy, but don't get me wrong, some of the levels will put you to the test. Some of the levels in this game allow you to ride on Yoshi. I thought this was a great feature that Galaxy 1 didn't offer. Yoshi can eat almost any enemy, and the ones he can't, you can fire them back at other enemies. Yoshi can also eat fruits scattered throughout the level. Now some of the fruits give Yoshi a temporary
I love
special
this
ability,
level.
such as running really fast, filling them up with air to float up really high, or even giving you a light to show hidden paths. These are awesome abilities which adds more fun to the game. Now Yoshi isn't the only one who can acquire special abilities. Mario can be upgraded with familiar suits found in the original Galaxy, such as the Fire Flower and the Bee suit. But there are quite a few new ones as well, such as the Boulder suit, which will allow Mario to turn into a boulder, which allows him to bowl over enemies and obstacles. The Cloud suit, which will give him the ability to create up to 3 floating clouds right underneath him, to which he can stand on, and a huge drill, which isn't a suit, but it gives him the ability to drill his way through dirt on a planet and end up on the other side. These new upgrades are amazing, and my favorite one is the Cloud suit. Not only do they give you new abilities, but it also creates more challenges in the levels because of the necessity to use them to obtain the star. Now in the original Galaxy, the levels had multiple stars, some of which were due to comets flying by the galaxy. Well, this game has comets too, but you have to earn them. What I mean is, a lot of the levels will have comet medals hidden throughout the level. If you can obtain it and make it to the end of the level without dying, a comet will fly near that particular galaxy a little while later, giving you another scenario to complete, which will of course give you another star. Just like in the original Galaxy, there are star bits galore. You can collect them by either walking on them or pointing at them with your Wiimote, which is very helpful. If you have a friend around, not only can they help you gather star bits with a second Wiimote, but now they can grab coins and 1-ups and bring them directly to you. It's a very nice little feature. If you collect 100 star bits, you'll gain an extra life. Collecting star bits is not only fun, but actually essential to gaining new levels in the game. Sometimes you will find a hungry Luma on your map. If you feed him enough star bits, he will open up a new pathway to more levels. The graphics are fantastic. I honestly didn't really find any difference in the appearance of the game compared to Galaxy 1, but so what?
Oh, you
Star
missed
bits.
all the
Look
star
amazing,
bits.
I
and
missed
so does
those.
this game. The controls are perfect. I seriously did not find any flaw in them at all. You'll use the Wiimote nunchuck combo, just like in the first Galaxy. A to jump, B to fire star bits, and a quick shake of the Wiimote or nunchuck will give Mario a spin attack. And if you spin in the air, it's like a half jump that is very much appreciated. That little half jump has saved me and my siblings so many times. I
Man,
thought the camera camera was a little better than the prequel. It's still not perfect, but seriously, I highly doubt you'll have a problem with it. You know, as I was playing through some of the levels, I literally said out loud, how did the developers come up with this design? The level design in this game is just outstanding. I thought Galaxy 1's level designs were awesome, but this game somehow topped it. The developers for this game put on their thinking caps and really tried their best and succeeded at coming up with some of the most unique, clever, and overall fantastic level designs. I really enjoyed the music in this game. The songs in Galaxy 1 have been remixed for this game, and I think they sound even better than the originals. But that's not the only reason I like the soundtrack. It's also because Nintendo has remixed retro songs from past Mario games and added them into some of the levels. Like this one. Listen to it and you'll know what I mean.
Well, you'll know what you mean if you've played the game, if you've heard the song before.
Yeah, but I would
Speaking of
assume
retro,
that
the
most
design
people
for
who
some
are
of the
playing
levels
this
in Galaxy
know
2
what
are
I'm
in
talking
2D.
about.
I love this idea. It has the same mechanics as playing in 3D, but you're in 2D. An excellent idea that was executed wonderfully. As fantastic as the game is, there were some downsides that I found. One of them was the length of the story mode. I beat it in about 10 hours. However, since there is so much replayability by going back and obtaining stars by completing different scenarios on the same levels, I can forgive the shortness of the story mode. The second downside was the very last star you get in story mode, which is a boss fight. It was way too easy. I was kind of confused by this, because a lot of the boss fights prior to the last one were way more difficult. Oh well, it was still fun though. Super Mario Galaxy 2 is an outstanding game. What makes it so outstanding? It's the amazing gameplay of the terrific level designs. But along with that are the fantastic graphics, the perfect controls, the excellent music, the awesome new as well as old suit upgrades, lots of fun and challenging boss fights, and the large amount of replayability. Now I did say that the downsides were the shortness of the story mode and the cakewalk of getting the very last star in the story mode, but you know what? Those two downsides are so small that they really don't hinder the game's overall greatness. This game is just 100% amazing. What more could you ask for in a 3D platformer? If you have not played this yet, you absolutely need to. It is definitely worth every single penny. Now there's just one more thing. I was wondering if I was ever going to be able to say this. This game gets a 5 out of 5 with the title of Monumentally and Supremely Perfect.
Yeah, I forgot you gave it that score.
First one?
Yeah, why? They really should have put that in that 3D All-Stars game.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't. It's a shame.
They probably would have had to ask for more money, even though, you know, it's just a port. But I would have paid the extra.
If it was like $70?
Yeah. You get 4 really good games for
Yeah.
$70? Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I'm curious, who else owns Mario 3D All-Stars?
My friend does.
I mean, in the chat. I have the digital copy. I kind of wish I had picked up the physical copy, but it was really difficult to find. But
A physical copy probably sells for a lot.
yeah.
Williams Physical Media asks, do you think that the game still deserves a 5 out of 5 score from you?
Yeah, I think so. And I was looking at the list of reviews that we are potentially going to watch tonight, depending on where we stop, and there's at least one, if not 2, that I feel like I should redo.
Oh, really? Okay. There's quite a few people who own the All-Stars.
Nice.
Interesting. Yeah, bought it digitally due to FOMO, admittedly. Hey, I did the same thing with Animal Crossing New Horizons. I just had to pick it up. Everyone was playing it at the time. My sister was playing it. Like, just watching her just made me feel, oh, I need to play this game myself.
I played it for about 3 months, and then I was like, that's enough.
Yeah, pretty much same.
And I've picked it up here and there just to kind of look at everything, but I have completed my island on what I want it to look like, and there's nothing else to do for me. And I know there's tons of new DIY stuff, but I am completely content with what I have, and I don't have an urge to just keep going.
Yeah, that's how I am with like Animal Crossing games. I'm like super into them for like several months, and then all of a sudden I'm just like, okay, I'm totally done with this. I'm burned out. Yeah. I got my fill. And then I just drop them forever.
Mario Game Freak, this was the first review I ever saw of yours, and made me want to buy the game. Are you referring to Galaxy 2 or Crazy Taxi? And I think somebody else, before we watched the review, said that they think Mario Galaxy 2 was the first review they saw of mine.
TJ says he wants to see you re-review Brawl. That might be interesting, considering it's your first review.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one. It's not very long. It's only like 3 minutes, and I kind of just skimmed the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
All that. Yeah, Dean Gavitt. That's who it was. Love Cooking Media Studios. Love the game collection in the background. Yes, there it is. That's only about half of it. My chair is the other half. My chair is blocking a lot of DVDs, but there's still games behind it. Okay, let's have some fun with Crazy Taxi.
This game is so good.
Hey, come on over, have some fun with Crazy Taxi.
I do have a question.
Time for the Crazy Taxi
what
review.
What is the logo
for the game?
Is it like
this?
Yeah, it's got like teeth. Is it like a neck pillow with teeth? Is it like a taxi driver's hat stylized or something?
I have no idea what it is.
Does anybody know in chat? Because I
don't know. I can tell there's teeth, but I don't know what this shape is supposed to be. Yeah, it kind of looks like a neck pillow.
Yeah.
GameCube. Crazy Taxi was developed by Sega and originally designed for the arcades. Later, it was ported over to the Dreamcast, which I had a copy of, and then later again was ported over to other systems, including the GameCube.
They need to
Crazy
port
Taxi
this
was
to
actually a
Switch.
launch title with the GameCube,
This game
which
is
I
so
found
much
to be
fun
a
to
bit
watch you
odd,
play,
considering
honestly.
the game was 2 years old at the time of the GameCube's release. Now, I want to make this clear. I never played the arcade version of Crazy Taxi, but I did spend hours and hours into the Dreamcast version. So if there's any comparison to be made, it will be with the Dreamcast version and not the arcades. The whole principle of this game is to pick up people in your cab, drive them to their destination, and make as much money as possible before time runs out. Simple concept, right? Well, if you're a customer in the game, get ready for the craziest and most dangerous taxi ride of your life. However, since you're not a customer but the driver, this is just another normal day on the job. When you pick up a customer, you're given a time limit to drive them to their destination. Now, if you obey the rules of the road, you would virtually never get your customers to where they wanted to go in the time limit. But because there are no traffic lights, stop signs, or even cops on the road, even though there is a police station in the game, you get to drive, that's right, crazy! This means getting your customer to their destination by basically any means necessary in your somehow indestructible car. The action seldom stops in this game. When you first start out, you get to choose between 2 levels you want to play on, arcade or original. Now you can choose to either play with arcade rules, which I'll explain in a bit, or if you just want to play for 3, 5, or 10 minutes. Now it's time to choose which driver in their cab you want to use. Now, I did hear that each car has different attributes, such as more or less speed and control than other cars, and I think I have to agree with this statement. However, I found that all 4 cabs are very similar in speed and control, and I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference regarding which car you choose to play the game with. If you chose to play for a set amount of minutes, that's really all the time you get to play. Now, if you want to have some real fun and have the potential to play forever, you'll want to play with the arcade rules, and this is how it works. When you first start driving, you're given 50 seconds to play. As I stated before, when you pick up a customer, you're given a second time limit to bring them to their destination. When you pick someone up, your game time limit is extended. How much time you receive depends on how far away their destination is from where they're picked up. If you bring them to their destination quickly, you will be awarded with 5 extra seconds to your game time limit. If you brought them within a fair amount of time, you will be awarded with 2 extra seconds. And if you brought them late, you will receive no extra seconds.
Wow,
and if you really screw up, they will jump out of your car and your cab fare for that person will disappear. There's a variety of customers who will want to go to short or far away destinations. The customers in red will have the shortest destination, and the ones in green will have the longest. In my opinion, the key to your success in this game is to try to always go for green customers. They have the most cash and will give you the highest time limit. Now, I just have to stop here and say, these people are insane. For one, they're getting in and taking this kind of cab ride, which in real life would kill you in the first 5 seconds. And 2, look at how much they're willing to spend on a cab ride. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars. How are they able to afford that? And why would they waste their money like that? If they're going to spend that much money on something so dangerous, why not go skydiving? Oh yeah, it's a game. So anyway, in my experience,
Okay.
if you just go for red and orange customers, you're not going to get very far. So always try to go for at least yellow customers.
I want to pause and say that whole shtick was excuse me. In the time this was uploaded, there were a lot of reviews from professionals and amateurs who would go into that kind of thing, like, why are these characters like this, and blah blah blah, like it's real or something.
AVGN does that all the time.
Huh?
AVGN does that all
Yeah,
the time.
okay, but like, it's satirical. But like, there were these other reviewers who would be legit.
Oh,
about it.
yeah.
And so that was kind of a swing at them. Like,
interesting.
it's a game, you guys.
But lime green and green customers are the money makers. As you're playing, your customers will give you tips for your
Golly.
excellent but stupid driving skills. You receive tips for passing other vehicles at a really close range and using your crazy drift, which helps you turn on sharp corners. You also receive tips for going off jumps, which is so much fun. The GameCube's version of Crazy Taxi looks very similar to the Dreamcast version. As a GameCube game, it doesn't look that good. However, as a Dreamcast game, it's not that bad. Sure, they do look a little blocky, and the animations for the characters are pretty shallow, but it's still not that bad as a Dreamcast game. And since this is a port of the Dreamcast version, I'll just say the graphics are pretty good. The controls are almost perfect. You'll use the R and L buttons to accelerate and brake, and of course, use the analog stick to control. I guess the only problem I had with the controls is when you're performing a crazy drift. Sometimes you would turn too much or not enough, which can really mess you up and cause you to deliver your customer to their destination later than you would have wanted. Everything else though was fine. Now this might sound odd, but there's something about the GameCube's version of Crazy Taxi which just doesn't have the same appeal as the Dreamcast version. Don't get me wrong, the game is fun on the GameCube, but it just isn't as fun as it was on the Dreamcast.
What do you mean by
I
that?
seriously don't know why it's like this for me, but
It's
is.
just
Another
one of those-
downside was the level size. After playing it for so long, I kept wishing there was
I don't
another
know.
level, or at least make the two levels larger in area. I just think they're too small. As well as the main game, there's also a bunch of mini missions you can complete which are fun, and when you're a newcomer to the game can be quite difficult too, which I really liked.
That one is
Crazy
really
Taxi is a really fun game. Like I said before, as a GameCube game, the graphics are not that good, but as a port of the Dreamcast version, they're not that bad. It also has almost perfect control.
I think I
great
remember
fast-paced action,
you
and can be very
playing
addictive.
that exact-
But the downsides were that I
that
thought the
piece of
level
footage.
size was just a little too small. The controls of the
Golly.
Crazy Drift could become
Look
a bit
at this.
frustrating. The camera could go berserk just every once in a while. There are only 3 songs in the game, which are pretty cool at first,
There's
but can
actually
get
more than
tiresome
3,
after a
but
while.
during
And
the
I don't
main
know what it
gameplay, there's
is,
only
but the
3.
GameCube's version is just not as fun as the Dreamcast version. But overall, it's still a very fun game to play. I've heard people say they really don't like the ports of this game, and say the arcade version was the best. If that's how you feel, fine. But I never played the arcade version, just the Dreamcast and the GameCube, so I'm judging the game on that basis. If you haven't experienced Crazy Taxi before, I'd say try to play the Dreamcast version, as I think it's better than this one. However, this version is still pretty fun to play. This game gets a 3.75 out of 5, with the title of Awesome.
Oh, all right. It's time to check out how you did today. Now let's take a look. Crazy. That's it. That's all I got to say. Crazy Taxi.
I remember that was one game Dad really liked to watch me play.
I loved watching you play it. It was just so much fun to watch.
Like, there weren't many games that he would like to watch. Madden 01 was one of them, because it's football. Crazy Taxi, and honestly, Sonic Adventure 1. A little bit.
When you first got the Zelda Collector's Edition, he watched you play that
Oh,
a
that's
little
right.
bit, right?
He liked to watch Ocarina, but
Yeah.
really only up until like the Temple of Time. After that, it was like, okay, that's enough.
Was there anybody who knew what the Crazy Taxi logo was?
I was watching chat. I didn't see it. I really wish they would bring, well, Crazy Taxi to Switch, but I feel like Crazy Taxi 2 is so underrated. I don't know if has it ever had a port? Crazy Taxi was on Dreamcast and Xbox OG.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I never had Xbox, so. Crazy Taxi 2, you could jump anytime you wanted.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was based in New York, because I think Crazy Taxi 1 is based in San Francisco. But the other one was New York. And you could...
It kind
you
of
could
looks
have
like a mix between LA and San Francisco, honestly.
So Crazy Taxi 2, you could jump and you could have multiple customers at once. It was really fun.
Yeah.
But I only played it on Dreamcast.
Now I really want to listen to The
Yeah.
offspring.
Don't know what the logo is. So, all right. In an attempt to save themselves from bankruptcy, Sega sold the rights to the game to Activision in 2001.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Well, that's probably why we haven't seen any Crazy Taxi games.
I think I've said this on a past stream, but there is a Crazy Taxi-like game on the Switch right now,
Oh, really?
and it's got the name Taxi in it. I just can't remember what it's called. And it's supposed to be, you know, like a nod to the regular Crazy Taxi, and I heard it was like mediocre at best.
Dang, that's a shame.
Yeah.
There's also that Simpsons game.
Road Rage. I've never played that one.
Me neither. But I've heard it's pretty good.
This led to the somewhat odd situation of a high-profile Sega game being released on consoles not developed by Sega, while Sega was still trying to sell the Dreamcast to consumers. Dean Gavitt, I think the logo is a tire due to the flames behind it.
A tire?
That's what I kind of thought at first, but I don't know. The shape of it doesn't look like a tire, and then you have the teeth. I don't get it.
For some reason, when I was a kid and younger, I thought it was supposed to be some kind of like taxi memorabilia or like iconography. Like it's supposed to be like a hat or like some kind of decoration you put on a taxi. I feel like I remember it being it's supposed to be something like that, but like looking at it, I can't place what it could be.
Oh, Taxi Chaos is the Switch.
Oh, okay.
And then Sega is apparently working on a Crazy Taxi game for modern consoles. That'd be cool. Apparently the logo is a C with teeth that's supposed to represent crazy.
Checker pattern to represent taxis.
Okay. I guess I could see that.
It's kind of a weird looking C though. It looks like it's all looks plushy, you know?
Yeah. Okay, let's get to the next review. Astro Boy, the video game.
Time for the Astro Boy, the video game review for the Wii. Another movie game. Now, I have not seen the movie this game was based on,
Still
so I'm not
haven't.
going to be judging the story, even though I'm pretty sure it's the story from the movie. Here's the premise of what the story is in the game. Toby, the young son of a scientist, is brought to his father's work to see the unveiling of a new robot. Everything goes fine, except for this one minor detail. Something goes horribly wrong and Toby is killed. His father creates a robot that looks just like Toby, named
That's a
Astro,
minor
and in
detail.
addition to Toby's memories, also has a few special abilities,
Oh
such
my
as flying and
goodness,
shooting
look at
lasers
this.
from his hands. That's all I'm going to say about the story. This is a 2D action platformer, and there are two types of levels in the game.
Look at this
There's the
game.
action platforming levels, and there's the action shooter
Yikes.
levels. As you go through the action platforming levels, you'll use hand-to-hand combat and your special abilities to fight against other robots. Fighting hand-to-hand does deal a good amount of damage, but it becomes so boring. Good thing you can shoot lasers and use your butt cannon? Okay, to fight the enemies with in addition to hand-to-hand, otherwise these levels will become
Okay.
terribly dull. Now as for the shooter levels, although they're more fun than the platforming levels, it doesn't make up for the overall monotonous and dry gameplay of this game. Throughout the platforming levels, you can find upgrades which will enhance one of your 4 stats, such as health, jets, laser, or power. These upgrades do help, but the game is already pretty easy, and the upgrades make it even easier. But we can't stop there with the easiness, and here's why. When you start attacking enemies, little orbs of light will start to fly to you. These orbs add to how many times you can use a super ability, because you can only have a max of 10 times, such as using your arm cannon.
Dr. Octagonopus!
Okay. Anyway, one of your super abilities is to heal yourself. Now, healing yourself adds to the easy factor of the game, but that's not what I'm talking about. When you heal yourself, any type of projectile shot at you that's on screen, whether it's a missile or an energy shot, can be converted into energy to restore your health, which, yet again, decreases the difficulty of this game. But we're not done yet. How about unlimited lives? Yep, it's got that too. Oh, and don't forget about not dying when you fall down a crevice.
Oh.
Now that's easy enough, right? Nope. How could this game become even easier? Why, 2-player co-op mode, of course. This game is just too easy. Now, even though the game is a chocolate frosting covered cakewalk, there are quite a bit of annoyances, which adds to the frustrating factor, not the difficulty factor. For one, I thought the camera was too far away. Well, I guess it didn't make the game frustrating, it just helped make it boring. Okay, now the real frustrations were 1, you can't defend yourself. Enough said. And 2, sometimes it was hard to tell what was going on from the many enemies on screen. The graphics are blah. It doesn't look that good, especially the cutscenes.
Oh
They
my
look
gosh.
grainy and just not appealing to look
at
at.
that.
The only thing I liked
The
about the
lighting is
graphics
so
were the times when
flat.
you were about
There's
to
no,
perform
like,
a super
shadows
ability, which
or
only lasts about 1
reflections or
second.
anything.
So, yeah, it's pretty sad. The controls are pretty good for the most part. You'll use the Wiimote nunchuck combo to play. You can either play with the standard controls, or you can mix and match to your liking, which is pretty cool, but the controls are not hard at all to get used to. You can also use the motion sensor of the Wiimote to heal yourself by giving it a little flick, but I just used the down button on the D-pad, which was easy enough. Not only is this game super easy, but it's super short! My siblings and I beat it in less than 3 hours. And as for replayability, well, I guess going back and finding every power-up could be one, and there is an arena mode to see how long you can last, but seriously, I highly doubt you'll care enough to do those things. The music, script, and the in-game cutscenes were so annoying. There's like 2 or 3 songs in the whole game which became a pain to listen to. Now, Crazy Taxi only had 3 songs in it, but at least they were catchy. The script was poorly written, which made some of the voice acting sound bad, and the in-game cutscenes sucked. What I mean is, there was only like 3 animations for each character, which just tells me the developers were being lazy. Oh, and also, the lip syncing was horrible. It was like watching a foreign film with English dubs. It doesn't affect the gameplay, but it's just not fun to watch. Astro Boy, the video game, is not that good.
I kinda wish
While
you
the super
included
abilities,
some
shooter
examples.
levels, co-op mode, and controls save this from being a terrible game, the overall fun factor is drowned out by the monotonous, dull, and super easy gameplay.
Wow,
and it
just a
doesn't help
straight
when the game is
beam.
really short, and the camera, music, script, and in-game cutscenes are really annoying. This is why I don't really care for movie games, and I don't recommend this one. However, this game could be an okay weekend rental for young kids who enjoyed the movie. To everyone else, though, I say stay away from it. This game gets a 2.25 out of 5 with the title of bad.
I remember playing that, and it was such a slog to play through.
Wasn't it a Magical Chicken request?
It must have been. There's no way you would have played that otherwise.
I never owned it.
Yeah, 3 hours. Do you know how much it costs?
No idea. Mr. Toad the Gamer, chocolate frosting covered cakewalk. That's actually one of my favorite phrases that I've said.
that was pretty. That was a pretty good one. Pretty good line.
Leandro, nice to see you guys. Greetings from Brazil. Look at that.
Hello.
Dean Gavin, I always love when you or other reviewers say down button instead of just down. I'm easy to amuse. Down button.
Down. I would say down on the D-pad. Well, down button makes sense on like on a Switch, like a Joy-Con controller, right? Because those are separate buttons. Down on, like, saying down for the D-pad is kind of weird because it's all like one button but 4 inputs. So yeah, I would say down makes more sense for a D-pad.
Sometimes I have to be specific though, because you could press down on the D-pad or down on the analog stick,
Yeah.
and it does 2 different things.
Yeah.
But I guess contextually, it probably would be, shorter to say just down. But I like to be specific.
Saying just, I wouldn't say just down. I would say down on the D-pad.
Okay, let's get to Kirby Air Ride. Fun fact about this game: when I was in the airport about to leave for boarding academy when I was a junior in high school, and I was about 2,000 miles away from my house. Before I got past TSA, I opened up my backpack and I handed my siblings this game, a copy of this game, as just kind of have fun,
A parting gift.
Parting gift kind of thing.
Dude, I'm so glad you got us this game. This is like one of my favorite games ever.
Really? Favorite games ever?
I mean, it probably like top 15 game, I would say.
Oh.
It holds a special place in my heart. It's so good. Me and my sister, we would play it like all the time together. It was so much fun.
It's time for the Kirby Air Ride review. for the GameCube.
It's my favorite Kirby game for sure.
My sister has been wanting me to review this game for a long time, because for one, she loves Kirby, and two, it's actually her game. So
Yeah.
here we go.
It's
This
mine.
is a racer where you race with Kirby and Kirby-related characters on hover machines. The vehicles can not only hover, but can also glide when going off of a jump, which gives this game a little more depth. Each type of machine has a different set of attributes, like the Warp Star has a good average of speed, turning, charging, etc. Or like my personal favorite, the Swerve Star, where you have to completely stop to turn, but is super fast. Each track has enemies scattered throughout which Kirby can suck up and gain a new ability, such as a familiar looking outfit with a sword or a big ball of spikes. You can use these new abilities to attack the other racers so you can gain the lead. Now, not all enemies can give Kirby a special ability, and when Kirby sucks one in, you can shoot it back out towards the other racers. In addition to the standard racing, there's also a bird's eye view style of
I
racing.
even like this
It's a
mode.
lot shorter
Yeah,
and
I
not
like
as
that
fast
too.
as
Top
the
right
standard
is really
racing,
good.
but
It
it's still
gets
pretty
a
fun
bad rap,
nonetheless.
but
Now,
it's
if this
super
game
good.
just focused around racing, it would be so boring. However, there is another mode called City Trial, which is a lot more fun. In this mode, you're given a set amount of minutes to go around a city and collect upgrades, some of which include attack, defense, glide, top speed, and so on. When the
love
timer
this
is up,
concept
you're put
for a
into a
game.
scenario which is usually you against the other players. Winning the scenario depends on what you actually have to do and what stats you have to do it with. Like in this one, you have to defeat King Diddy, which is really hard, by the way, so while you were in the
Diddy.
city, you'll have wanted to stock up on mainly attack, defense, and life. This is just one type of scenario, and there are many others you can play, and you can put it on random so you don't know what's going to happen when the timer runs out, so all you can do within the time is to collect all the upgrades you can find to win at the end. Similar to Super Smash Bros. Brawl, there's not only one, but 3 walls of challenges you can accomplish by completing certain tasks. This gives the game a lot of replayability. The graphics are pretty
You
good.
say that,
After all,
phrase
it's a
a
Kirby
lot
game, so
in
this
your
is
reviews.
what I was
By
expecting,
completing
and it
certain
looks fine to me.
tasks.
Yep.
The controls are great, and
It's
too
on purpose.
simple. You can literally play this game with one
do you mean
hand.
by that?
You'll use the analog stick
It's
to
a
control,
nod to
and
my
you can
first
either
review.
use the
Oh,
A, R, or
okay.
L button to charge your machine for a boost, and also attack enemies with any of those. So really, you only need the analog stick and L button to play this game.
You can
Now,
play
keep
this
in
game with
mind,
one
this is a
hand.
pretty fun game, but it's not one that I keep coming back to play, because for one, the races just don't keep my interest. They are pretty fun, and completing the walls of challenges from the races is cool, but usually anytime I play it, I just go for the city trial mode. The racing is just too simplistic, to the point where it gets pretty boring, which is a bummer. Kirby Air Ride is a pretty good game. Graphics are nice and colorful, great controls, a good variety of machines, fun multiplayer, especially in city trial mode, lots of replayability, great music, and that Kirby charm is everywhere. But the downsides were one, the races are too simplistic, to the point where it becomes boring. And two, since it's too simplistic, there's no real oomph to it, which in my opinion makes it a game you'd only play once in a while. It's still a fun game while you're playing it though, and playing with or against friends does help with the simplicity of the gameplay. But if you're looking for a fictional racer with more to it other than Mario Kart, you should try F-Zero GX. Now that one's more my style. However, to be fair, it looks like this game was intended for younger audiences. So overall, I think this game is a little too easy and simple for advanced gamers, and I think younger audiences would like it more. However, I still think it's a pretty fun game to play. This game gets a 3.5 out of 5 with the title of Good.
Oh, that finish right there, that was not planned. We were just, the three of us were just trying to, get an ending for it, and but we finished like within microseconds of each other.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah.
I saw me hit you with that big charge blast near the end, but
0.5 out of
Milliseconds?
5 with the title
Watch.
of Good.
oh, whoa,
we
really?
all finished like that.
Whoa, that's crazy. And we got first, second, and third.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty good. Yeah, it was a precursor to Smash Run on Smash 3DS.
I wish they had that in Smash for Wii U or,
Yeah,
or Smash Ultimate.
I do remember when you were making that review, you had planned a scene for me and Espeon to talk about the game, like why we like it, because we liked it a lot more than you, and we had a lot more experience with it.
Mm-hmm.
But like all you did was just kind of point the camera at us and you said, okay, talk about the game, and we just didn't know what to say. We're just like, it's good because, but like there was like no prompt. There weren't any like questions or anything. You just like, go ahead, talk about the game. Is too awkward to use, I guess.
Mima Village, thanks for joining. I don't think I've seen you in the chat before. Maybe you've seen. Maybe you're in the other live streams though. Does Espeon still have the game? I think so, unless you have it.
I think I have it at my house.
Oh, okay. They share the game.
Yeah, we
It's
share
50-50.
it basically. Yeah.
This was the last Kirby game that Sakurai worked on?
Yep.
As part of HAL Laboratory.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He's now he's like a freelancer with his he is like his own he is his only employee in his company.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Beijing with Mario and Sonic.
Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games review for the Wii. When I first heard of this game, I thought to myself, it's just another gimmick to make money. However, now that I've played it, is it a game that takes home the gold, or just another gimmick? The gameplay of this title features, you guessed it,
kind of a bizarre
Mario and Sonic
game.
characters
Yeah.
competing in various Olympic games such as track and field, aquatics, gymnastics, and so on. From the roster, you get to choose from 16 characters you want to play as. Each character specializes in one of 4 attributes: power, all-around, speed, and skill. Depending on which event you'll play in, you'll want to choose a fitting character. Now, I was going to go through the basics of each set of events, but I would be repeating myself for the majority of each game. You know why? Well, it has to do with the controls. With a few games aside, the majority of each game will have you flailing the Wiimote and nunchuck in some manner. Like for the 100 meters dash, you have to quickly flail both controllers like crazy to win. Now in the 4x100 meter freestyle, you basically have to do the same thing, but in a different method depending on your characters. With one lap, you might have to swing both controllers from side to side together, and on the next one, you'll have to alternate them back and forth. So there is variety in most of the events, but the principle is still the same: flail like crazy. And this is the major downfall of the game. It kills your arms and hands. So much so that I could barely play it the next day because my arms and hands were so sore. This is a huge downside because the game is pretty fun in single player mode, but is extremely fun as a multiplayer game. Now there are some games where you don't have to sacrifice your arms and hands to have fun. Like in Skeet, you have to shoot down as many clay discs as you can in 8 rounds, and whoever shot down the most, of course, wins. In archery, you obviously have to try and shoot the middle of your target, but it can be quite tricky because in order for you to hit it, you have to point with the Wiimote, but you also have to align the nunchuck with it via the nunchuck's motion sensors. It's actually pretty fun once you get used to it. In gymnastics, you have to perform tricks on a trampoline.
Any game that
when
requires
you
you to
bounce
do
high
like
enough, you're given a sequence
precise
of buttons
movements
and
with the
rotations of the
nunchuck,
Wiimote
like
to perform. This is one of my favorites
I don't like
because
it.
it's fun and it doesn't kill you. In addition to standard Olympic events, there's also one called Dream Event, and one of the games is called Dream Race. This is basically a watered-down version of Mario Kart on foot, but it's still pretty fun. The graphics were very well done.
I should've
However,
said
you
it
can tell the
was
developers
Sonic
were on
R.
the coffee break.
Yeah,
when it
it's
comes to new
basically it's like
outfits. Do you
Sonic
see
R with
anything
items.
odd in this clip? Yep, almost all the characters are in their regular outfits while swimming. For one, is that even allowed? And two, I'm pretty sure they would go faster if they had the proper swimwear on. This isn't a huge issue, but it's still a bit weird nonetheless. The controls... Oh, wait, I kinda already said. Well, I'll just say it again. I thought they were good for the most part. However, you can only play for so long because of how tired your arms and hands get after playing most of the events. And there were some times where they would become frustrating. Like for example, in the long jump, you have to flick the Wiimote up to jump. But you can't do it as fast as you would like to, otherwise you'll get penalized. You have to find the sweet spot of how fast you can do it. But the problem with that is that sometimes the sensors will not read your movements fast enough, or sometimes at all, and of course you'll get penalized. Now, it's not like it's really hard to determine how fast you can flick the Wiimote up, but it's still pretty annoying. Most of all the events controlled pretty well for the most part. However, there is one game where they basically suck, and that game is table tennis. It's basically like table tennis in Wii Sports Resort, but crappier. I found the controls were unresponsive about 30 to 40% of the time. Now I know this game doesn't use the Wii Motion Plus, but still, you'd think table tennis would be one of the easier controlled games, but in my opinion, it's not. In addition to playing each game one by one, you can complete circuits which consist of 3 chosen events. There's also a bunch of separate missions for each character, which are pretty fun and gives the game more replay value. There's even a mode where it'll give you trivia about the Olympics. Thing is though, you have to play a minigame to acquire the answer, which, although it can be pretty fun, is also pretty weird concerning what the minigames are. are. There's also an online mode, although it is really shallow.
What was
All
that
it is
minigame?
rankings of
I
other
think you
people
just had to
compared
press the right
yours.
button
I thought it would have
quickly.
been really
Oh,
fun to
that-
compete
that's
against
weird.
other people. In addition to the replay value, there are a lot of collectibles you can unlock by completing certain scenarios. There's even an emblem you can receive by logging onto the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection. I don't know about you, but that was probably the most difficult emblem that I could have received. Mario and Sonic for the Olympic Games is a pretty
I
fun
love how you
single-player
just
game, but is an
Say
extremely
that like
fun
so
multiplayer game.
plainly,
Well done
so
graphics,
dryly.
good but painful controls, a good variety of games, and, like I said, very fun multiplayer. However, the downsides were, of course, the controls that make your arms and hands fall off. They're so bad, well, I mean, not controlled bad, but you know what I mean, that it just decreases the fun of the game, and 2, the online mode was kind of disappointing. Overall though, I still really had fun with this game. Even though the controls are a real pain, literally, I still thought it was really fun, especially when playing with friends. This game gets a 3.5 out of 5 with the title of good.
These games, these Mario and Sonic Olympic games, oh, it's a new intro.
Oh, new intro. We'll watch this
Yeah.
one.
These games are like, I see them as those games that one family in your neighborhood has, like it's that one weird family. Maybe they're a little poorer, or maybe they're like a little more conservative, or like religious or something. But that's like the only game they have, you know.
This? Yeah.
Yeah. The Mario and Sonic Olympic games.
This or Wii Play,
Mm-hmm.
Wii Sports, like very, very neutral tone games.
Yeah, and also kind of budget games.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, have you played this? This is the best game ever.
It's the cow game.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And you just kind of feel some pity for them. You know?
I mean, to each their own.
But it's like, you're missing out on
I know.
such a just
I know.
so many other games.
Josh Man, Frequency Red Toe, would you absolutely agree that the Mario and Sonic Olympic games are legit crossovers?
Legit crossovers.
I mean, yeah, they are. Not.
I mean,
they're
yeah.
not like
technically, they are crossing over.
yeah, they're not
the two
they're not
franchises.
core Mario or Sonic games, but it is a crossover game.
Like, I guess the question is, like, would you consider this like canonically Mario and Sonic have, you know, met each other?
Yeah.
Sure, why not? You know.
Walk Up, there's been talks of a Mario and Sonic crossover platformer, but both Nintendo and Sega agreed that the gameplay styles of the two didn't mesh well together. That, I totally respect that. I don't want a game for the sake of it to exist if it's going to be bad.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think the Mario and Rabbids works out surprisingly well.
Yeah,
But a Mario and Sonic platformer, I don't know how you could really pull that off unless you either dumbed down Sonic's speed, which is not fun, or you upped Mario's speed. But if you did that, you might as well just be playing a regular Sonic game.
Now, I don't know if you know what I'm going to reference here, but maybe some people do. If they made a game where the gameplay was like the fight scenes from Super Mario Bros. Z animations, then I would be all for that, because I love that series growing up. It was like a Flash animation series where Mario and Sonic characters crossed over and fought each other in like Dragon Ball Z type fights.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, really?
Dude, I saw a few of those.
I love them growing up. They're so great.
Mr. Toad the Gamer, that was literally my grandma's house. The Wii was there and had all the Wii Sports and Wii Play games and nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet that a very large percentage of Wii owners, that's what their library looked like.
Well, it was the easiest games to acquire.
Yeah.
Wii Sports came with the Wii, and Wii Play, it's a free game with a Wii mode.
Yeah, and they're very accessible games for everyone.
Yeah. Okay. On to WarioWare, Smooth Moves. And yes, this is a new intro. We're going to watch this one.
Oh yeah, this song. You timed these clips pretty well.
Yep.
The magical chicken.
It's time for the WarioWare Smooth Moves review for the Wii. This is my 75th review. Hooray! And if you didn't already notice, I celebrated by creating a new intro for my reviews. I hope you enjoyed.
I love
yeah,
this game,
and happy
man.
4th of
It's
July,
so
America.
fun.
So then, on to the review. This was the first WarioWare game I've ever played. I had known about the WarioWare game for the GameCube, but I was never really interested in it, mainly because I had no idea what it was. However, I of course now have a really good idea of what to expect if I ever do play that game. There is a story in this game, but it really doesn't have any purpose beyond the fact that it just exists. And actually, it basically has nothing to do with the game itself, so I'm not even going to bother with it and go straight to the gameplay. If you haven't played this game before, don't worry, you're not missing anything. This is a game that consists of over 200 microgames. These are super short mini-games, like we're talking 3 seconds long. On the main map, you can select an area you want to play in. Each area will give you a short explanation of who the characters are in that area, and then you will play a set of microgames with a boss at the end, which is just a longer and usually harder microgame than the previous ones. Each microgame uses the Wiimote in one of many positions, and when the microgame starts, you will have to figure out in usually 3 seconds what you need to do with a certain position of the Wiimote. You are given 4 lives, so to speak, and it's usually not that hard at all. However, as you play through, the microgames will speed up, giving you less time to start, which adds to the difficulty factor. Hooray for logic! The graphics are... well, how do I put this? They are exactly what they should be for this type of game. And actually, if you haven't already noticed from the footage you've been watching, there are many different art styles for each microgame, some of which you might be pleasantly familiar with. The controls are usually different for each microgame, and most of all the positions work just fine. However, there was one position where the controls would not work properly, and that position was the waiter. It looks simple, right? Just hold the Wiimote out in the palm of your hand. Well, the problem is, if you are either too close or too far away from the sensor bar, it will not pick up your movements, and you will of course lose the microgame, which is frustrating because you know for a fact that you actually are performing the correct movements, but the sensor bar will not pick it up. Now, of course, this will happen with all the control schemes if you are too close or too far away, but this control scheme is very picky. Like I said though, all of the other control methods work just fine. Not only is this game fun, but it is also fun-y. Get it? Get it? Fun-y? Oh, forget it. Well anyway, the micro games are usually humorous, but the tutorials for each Wiimote position have their share of laughs as well.
This simple stance reflects one of life's fiercest and greatest sports. Channel surfing.
I love
Each
those
time you complete an
explanations.
area on the map, you will
It's
unlock not
so
only new areas to
serene
play
and-
in, but also complete
Oh,
minigames,
man,
some
it's
of
so
which
great.
aren't even in the microgame set. If I had to find fault with this game, it would be with the story mode. It only took me an hour and 20 minutes to complete. Even though there are literally hundreds of microgames you can play when you're done with the story mode, I still think it was too short. I think what would have made it better is if each area on the map you have to complete had double the amount of microgames in order for you to win. Now, once you complete story
the
mode,
brawl
there are a
stage,
number of
yeah.
new areas you can play, which gives you more sets of microgames, but I still think the story mode was too short. This is a huge microgame compilation, and so of course you have to have multiplayer in it. There are 8 multiplayer minigames, with 7 of them consisting of having to defeat the other players using microgames. All of them are fun to play, except my brother and I found darts to be kind of boring. I thought it was odd to put darts in, with it having nothing to do with any of the microgames. Plus, both my brother and I found the controls to be usually off. Our favorite minigame was Lifeline, where we have to play a set amount of microgames, and then at the end, we get to cut the lines holding both of us up,
Oh,
not
yeah.
knowing which line is connected to who. Whoever had more points at the end of the microgames, that person gets more safety lines. It's a lot of fun, especially playing with many people. WarioWare! Smooth Moves is a great game. Graphics are good for what the game is about, excellent controls, a huge amount of microgames, some of the humor is just downright hilarious, and is an excellent multiplayer game. But the downsides were 1, the way
That's
the
a fun
speed
game.
does
That game
not
is
work
fun.
some of the times. 2, the story mode was just too short, and 3, the price tag. There's no way I would pay $50 for this game. $30 is the highest, but then again, I don't see myself coming back to play it over and over again. However, it's still a great game. If you have a bunch of friends over, and for some insane reason you don't have Brawl, this would be a great game to play as well.
There it is.
This game gets a 4.25 out of 5. Title of Awesome.
Yeah, when we first played that game, it was like such a pleasant surprise. We were like laughing out loud
Yeah.
at so many parts.
It was really fun. I thought I owned it, but no, it was a rental. And I think it was a Magical Chicken request. Same with
Yeah.
this one. This was a Magical Chicken request.
Yeah.
The Holy Brawl.
The Holy Brawl. if you're gonna play this game with other people, they will have to share the Wii remote. Yeah, but like, it can be kind of fun to do that, like hastily passing around the controller, while
That's part of the fun.
Yeah, it's part of the fun. Imagine if WarioWare had a count the footprints game. Red would ace it. I don't get the reference. Do you understand that?
Oh, Count the Footprints. It's Family Party, 30 Great Games Winter Fun.
Oh,
the footprint game.
Oh,
you don't remember? Don't anybody say anything.
I remember.
We'll get to the review when we get to
all
it.
I remember from that live scene is that we just like fall over in the snow and roll around for some reason. I don't really remember the context of that live scene.
Well,
so we'll get to it.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to Transformers Cybertron Adventures review.
Were you ever into Transformers growing up?
I was as a kid. I liked Transformers cartoon, as well as there was another Transformers type cartoon, but it was more like animals.
Oh, Beast Wars?
Was it?
Yeah, I think it's called Beast Wars.
Okay. I guess it was that. But the movies, I saw the first two, and I was like, forget it, this is stupid.
I was into Bionicles growing up, not Transformers.
For the Transformers Cybertron Adventures review for the Wii. Now, before I begin, I have to make this statement. I know this is a port of the game Transformers War for Cybertron, but since I've never played that game, this review will probably be different than others, because I will not be comparing the Wii's version to War for Cybertron, so please keep that in mind as you watch this review. Thank you. This is actually the first Transformers game I've ever played. I was never really interested in the cartoon or any other Transformers game, but I really like the movies. So anyway, this game is set on the
That's exact
Transformers
opposite of what you just
Cybertron.
said.
As you start out, you get to choose which side you want to play as, the Autobots
Some
or the
Mandela
Decepticons.
effect
And if you're
is
not
going
familiar
on
with
here,
the
because
heroes,
I
the good and bad
swear
side.
I
Each
watched
side
the
has its own
cartoon
story,
when
but both
growing
of them
up,
surround the
as
main
long
plot,
as well as
which is
Beast
the
Wars,
Decepticons are
and
trying to take over Cybertron, and the Autobots
the
are trying
movies
to
were
stop them. This is a rail shooter. You virtually have no control over where your transformer
know why I
moves,
said
as
that.
the AI will do it for you. All you need to do is shoot and take cover. Now, there are times where the transformer will transform into its own vehicle.
Whoa,
such
they
as a car or
transform?
jet, and when they do so, you get to control where they maneuver, but you're still on rails, as the game will guide you where you need to go next. On foot, you get 4 different weapons to blast your enemies with, which include a Gatling gun, a blaster or cannon, depending on which transformer you are, a missile launcher, and a sniper rifle. Although these weapons are effective, it was kind of disappointing that all of the transformers for both sides have the same weapons. It would have been nice if there was a variety. Now, well, there is a variety when it came to the blaster and the cannon.
Man.
With
So
the cannon,
dark.
you can charge up a single shot for lots of damage,
barely
as
see
opposed to the
anything.
blaster, which can't charge up, but this is the only variety in weapons. When
I
you're
think
in
I didn't-
vehicle
I
mode,
think I
you
didn't
get
play
2
this on
weapons
the
at your
small
disposal,
TV.
your
Yeah.
blaster and missile launcher.
Didn't see anything.
These stages were pretty fun, although when you're in a jet, in my opinion, you would just fly too slow. Come on, you're in a jet, for crying out loud. Let's see some speed. But no, we have to fly at 30 miles an hour. Well, anyway, even though it wasn't too fast,
like Star
flying was
Fox
still
Zero.
fun, as was the car stages. This
I
game
haven't played
surprised
that.
me at how fun it was. However, there is very little variety in each level. You will constantly be shooting down enemies and taking cover. This game would be so boring if not for the fact that the action rarely stops. It's a repetitive game, but for me, it doesn't become boring so easily because it's very satisfying when you take down a bunch of huge enemies. Graphically, this game is good at best. I thought the models for each transformer and the animations were pretty good, but for the environments, it was actually 50-50. Some of them didn't look half bad, while with others, you just have to wonder, did the developers quit in the middle of it? The controls were excellent though. It was as simple as point and shoot.
Were you talking
the only
about
issue I had with the
that
controls was when we were
footage?
driving on the road.
Dude,
The turning
I
controls just
don't
felt a little
remember.
too stiff, which could mess you up at times. Everything else though was just fine. There is 2-player co-op mode in this game, but it was kind of disappointing. I was hoping for a second transformer fighting with you, but all it is that second player gets to shoot extra missiles and lasers at the enemies as if he or she was behind you. It does help, but the game is already pretty easy, so co-op mode feels more like a fun little extra rather than a main element of the gameplay. Every time you destroy an enemy or certain objects on the field, you will be awarded with experience points, which are tallied up at the end of the level. When you gain enough experience points, you will level up, of course, giving you access to bonus material, which is just artwork. This was pretty disappointing. Artwork, that's what I get for all the crap I just had to endure, such as hundreds of shots of lasers and missiles. I mean, artwork is nice and all, but I was expecting something with a little more value to the gameplay. Another downside was the amount of save points in each level. I found some of them to be too spread apart from each other. Now, even though this game is pretty easy, there were times where it would become pretty challenging, especially around the end of both story modes. Now, a challenge is always welcome in my book, but if you died, sometimes you would have to start from too far back, which is just a pain. There is a challenge mode where it's basically the whole campaign over again, but with certain objectives like a time limit or shooting down a specific amount of certain enemies while driving. You'll be awarded with medals if you complete the tasks, which gives this game more replayability, but the game just doesn't have a lasting appeal that you'll want to come back to complete them. Transformers Cybertron Adventures is a pretty decent game. Graphics are passable, excellent controls, co-op mode adds a nice touch, terrific voice acting and music, good sound effects, and the action rarely stops. However, the downsides were that the repetitiveness of the easy gameplay keeps this from being a great game, and it doesn't help when the graphics are lackluster throughout points in each level, the game itself is pretty short, and there's just very little long-lasting appeal. Now, I did say that I wasn't comparing this version to War for Cybertron, and I'm not, but after reading multiple reviews for that game, I'm gonna have to say you're probably better off playing that version instead of the Wii's. However, if you only have a Wii and you like Transformers and or rail shooters, I think you might have a pretty fun time renting this game. The amount of enjoyment you will get out of this game all depends on what type of gamer you are, and the fact if you aren't comparing it to War for Cybertron. And please remember, this is not a comparison to War for Cybertron. And because of that, I thought this was a pretty good game, and I did have fun with it. This game gets a 3.25 out of 5 with the title of good.
I still get comments alluding to the fact that, War for Cybertron is better or whatever. And I'm like,
oh, really?
People don't listen.
Even with all those, caveats?
Yeah, and, pretty much every time I put a little disclaimer in there of, I'm not comparing it to this game or something about it is over here, whatever, it's because in the past I've gotten comments that don't make any sense. That they're just, harping on me or the video just to be a troll, I guess.
Maybe they are just trying to get under your skin. They know they're wrong, and they just want to make you upset.
I guess.
It seems that most games in the 2000s and early 2010s gave artwork as a reward. It seems to have died out now, probably because the internet is way more advanced compared then. Yeah, I do remember that. I can think of quite a few games that are like that. Metroid Other M, Soul Calibur 2. There's a few games that are like that. I don't know. I kind of like concept art. Oh, I think Metroid Prime 2 was like that as well. Or the Metroid Prime games gave concept art. I don't know. I think it's kind of a neat little thing. I like seeing concept art.
As far as the movies go, maybe I should give him another chance. It's just I don't really care for Shia LaBeouf as an actor. Maybe in his earlier works, fine, but and it's not just him. It's Michael Bay as a director. I feel like he's just so overrated because all he does is explosions. Like the movie, I think he directed the movie Armageddon.
I've never seen it.
I think. And I turned it off 30 minutes into it because it was just so over the top explosion. And the explosions you could tell were rigged fireworks. They weren't actual real explosions. It just not for me.
Those movies are, I don't like them because I watched them with mom and dad, and some of the comedy in those movies are just like awkward sex jokes that are, and watching that with mom and dad is just so awkward.
So awkward. Yeah. Dean Gavin, explosions and hot babes. I mean, maybe as a teen I would have really went for that, but there's no substance to the movie. It's all it's very shallow.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you guys like it, fine, to each their own. Just not for me. Curse Mountain review. This I feel is a very underrated game. And we can see Magical Chicken.
Oh, that's right.
Caution! This is an M-rated game, so the Magical Chicken insists that viewer discretion is advised. It's time for the Cursed Mountain review for the Wii.
That's so
Oh,
dark.
well now, isn't that picture lovely? I wanted to review this game because, for one, I haven't reviewed an M-rated game in a while, and two, I thought I'd have a good time with it. So, let's find out. This game is about Eric Simmons, a well-renowned mountain climber who has gone looking for his younger brother Frank on a mountain in the Himalayas named Chomolungma, which monks have claimed to be the sacred one. As Eric arrives at a town near the mountain, he discovers that everyone has deserted the place. The reason? Ghosts. So now your journey begins. This is a survival horror game. As you proceed through each area of the mountain, you will have to fight off ghosts. To do this, you will have to perform melee attacks with your pickaxe, but you only have to do this in the beginning of the game. It won't be long until you learn how to use your third eye, which allows you to see the ghosts more clearly and shoot energy at them from weapons you will find along the way to kill them. When you damage a ghost enough, a symbol will appear on it to which you can point at and press A. When you do so, one or multiple gestures of the Wiimote and or nunchuck will appear on the screen. Performing these gestures correctly within a small time limit will not only kill the ghost, but will also add a small portion of health to you. Speaking of health, incense shrines will be scattered throughout the game. These shrines can restore your health quite a bit, provided you have incense sticks with you. One stick will not heal you all the way if you're really low on health, so don't neglect any if you find them. Actually, isn't that just as important in virtually every game? You can find incense sticks in breakable pots and killed off ghosts. Killing off ghosts and surviving is one aspect of the game, but the other is just about exploring and trying to find your way. This is a slow game. For those of you who need high-paced action in your games, this one is not for you. However, if you're looking for a change of pace and like exploring, then this is a game for you. I wouldn't say this is a scary game, but more creepy than anything else. The environments throughout will send a chill up your spine, but that's about it. If you're looking for a scary game, you'll have to look somewhere else. Now, there will be moments where you'll probably jump back and get startled, but I'm gonna guess for most people, the most you'll get is a shot of adrenaline piercing your heart. Throughout the game, you'll find many pieces of writing. From notes about the mountain itself to pages from Frank's diary, there is a lot to read. Now, you don't have to read any of it if you don't want to, but I think it makes the game more enjoyable. There was one annoying thing about reading the notes though, and that is the font of the letters is too small. Well, it is easier to read them on a bigger TV, but I played most of this game on a smaller one, and it was usually pretty annoying trying to make out the script.
Yeah.
Another annoying thing
It's
was that
standard
Eric
definition
moves
too,
just
so-
too slow. Now I know he's carrying climber's gear, but still, I don't think it would have killed
Look how
him to
dark
move just
it
a
is.
bit
Yeah.
faster. That's the ghost job. However, I did notice one little aspect that I did appreciate. Now, in a lot of games that I've played, I
I
would
can't
notice that
see
the
it.
characters would walk or run up a flight of stairs abnormally faster than they should be. Link in The Legend of Zelda is a great example of this. However, in this game, the developers decided to be realistic and have Eric move slower when he's ascending stairs. I
I
thought
think
this
it's
was
the
a nice
monitors.
realistic
Oh,
feature.
yeah.
Watching
The
them.
graphics are
Okay.
pretty good overall. However, in some places, it just felt like the developers were being lazy. It's not a huge issue, but, you know. The look of the game actually reminded me of The Lord of the Rings: The Third Age, only a little less in quality. The controls were pretty good when you were walking around. When it came to performing the gestures to kill off the ghost though, the motion sensors would not read my movements correctly every time. Now when you only had to perform slashing movements, it usually worked just fine. It usually didn't work fine, however, when you had to perform forward thrusts. I really wish the developers fine-tuned these controls, because when they would work the first time, it was really fun. Another annoying problem with the controls was when you wanted to walk backwards. You would have to press down on the analog stick just right without any direction towards the right or left.
I
Not
can't
a
even
huge
see it
problem,
on
but
my
annoying
screen.
nonetheless. The main problem with the controls was when you slipped while climbing up a ledge. You're supposed to slash down with the Wiimote to catch the wall, but the sensors would not read it correctly a lot of the times and then you would die. Fortunately, there are quite a bit of auto save points throughout, but it's still very annoying. And adding to the annoyingness, there were a couple of glitches I ran into. They were 1, the game froze up on me once, and 2, I fell off a ledge that
froze
wasn't
up?
programmed for me to fall off of, and then I just fell and fell and fell without the game realizing that I wasn't supposed to be here.
Oh.
So I just had to restart. Like I said, the auto save points really saved the day, but you guessed it, it's still annoying. Throughout the game, you will acquire new weapons and upgrades for those weapons to kill off the ghosts with, such as a spread shot and an energy tether thing which can grab the ghost for a fast kill. This game was very fun and kind of addictive, but after playing it for hours, it gets a bit predictable. You could sometimes tell when the ghosts would pop out at you. Oh, and also, fighting them isn't really that hard. The only way it would become difficult is if there were about 3 or more attacking you. Other than that, combat was just a little too easy. The boss battles were few, but fun nonetheless, because they were usually a challenge. But Like I just said, there just weren't enough of them. Curse Mountain is a good game. It can be quite fun to the right people. Pretty good graphics and controls, a creepy atmosphere throughout the whole game. When the motion sensors work correctly, the combat is really fun, a really good story, and the price was only $10. Now, well, this game has been out for some time, but still, $10 for a new copy? This game is definitely worth that price. However, the downsides were one, some of the environments look like they could have been worked on more, the motion controls wouldn't work the first time frequently, the game can become somewhat predictable, and the combat was usually too easy. But still, I really had fun with this game. Now remember, this is not a game for everyone. If you don't like exploring and just need action right away, you'll most likely want to stay away from this game. But if you like these kind of games, you should definitely try this one out. This game gets a 3.75 out of 5 with a title of awesome.
This game, it doesn't look like a game that the devs kind of just phoned it in. I feel like they actually put some passion into that game. I don't know what it is, but
I was looking over there to see if I could find it and find the developer. I think it was developed by Deep Silver, which is one of the low tier developers. But it wasn't bad. But I forgot I sold it like a little over a year ago.
Frequency, would you play Curse Mountain again?
Yeah, sure.
Has it? Do you know if it's ever been ported?
I don't know.
It's kind of a neat setting because like the Himalayas are like notorious for being like such a dangerous place to, climb, and so having that be the setting of a horror game kind of makes sense. It's kind of neat.
Yeah. What's the main reason I give a warning every time I review an M-rated game? Well, I mean, that was kind of like the thing to do back in like the mid-aughts, and really even today. It depends on the developer or the producer or whoever to give a warning. But also, my channel is mostly family friendly, so honestly, M-rated games are a little outside of my standard reviewing style, if you will. I mean, I'll still review them, but it's does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've cultivated a younger audience, so you feel like it's your obligation to kind of give them a warning.
Yeah, I'd say so. Actually, the whole being family friendly and maybe a younger audience was heavily influenced by you and Espeon.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, if I played games or had different style of content that you guys weren't even able to watch, I think Mom and Dad wouldn't have even let me do this because I was still living with them at the time.
Mom and Dad kind of sheltered me and my sister from like mature themes, I guess. So for a while, even like when I was a teenager, we weren't allowed to like watch R-rated movies or play M-rated games and stuff.
All right, Battle Rage. Oh, excuse me, I'm tired. Was this DDI?
I don't even remember what this game is. Oh wait, no. Isn't it like a third-person shooter type game?
It's a
with robots.
Yeah. Like, do you know the game Virtual On?
I think I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is.
It's third person. You take control of giant fighting robots.
Oh.
But this one is terrible compared to that.
It's time for the Battle Rage Mech Conflict review for the Wii.
DDI.
I bought this game at GameStop used for $9. Looking at the box art, it looks convincing that it'll be a good game. So I was wondering why it was so cheap, and then I looked at the back of the box. DDI. When you see this logo on the back of a box, you expect crap, right? Well, this game is basically that. This is a game where you fight with a huge robot against other robots usually controlled by humans. When you start the game, it will tell you the history behind the robots, which, I have to say, isn't too bad of a story. But you don't play this game for the story, so let's take a look at the gameplay. The objective, if you didn't already know, is to destroy your opponent in each level. In arcade mode, you have to destroy your opponent...
Hold on. Mr. Silly Gamer, why was the intro on the Wii menu screen and not the title screen? Because I only do that when there is no title screen. I have to use something, and that was it. There was another game. There's another game like that, and I think we've already watched it. I just can't remember what it was.
You did that for Mario Galaxy.
I think I did that. I think I did that for Wii Play. Maybe. Anyway.
You did that for Mario Galaxy.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh.
That
Well, that was what, my 5th review or something like that. It was like 3rd review, and I was still fine tuning what I was gonna do.
5 times to advance to the next battle. The problem with this, it's both hard and easy. Now let me explain. When you first play this game, you will most likely hate it. The controls are close to being unplayable, and the camera is difficult to deal with. This is what makes the game hard. However, if you can stick with it and learn how to play with the controls and camera, the game becomes too easy because the AI can be stupid and their defense is crap. Before you head into battle, you will need to choose which attributes you want your robot to fight with. When I first played this, I would put most of my stats into my armor and my shield. If you do this, you will have a pretty easy time killing off your opponents, but it is so boring! I played like this for a couple of hours, and I was bored out of my skull. Then, after beating arcade mode yet again, I decided to add speed to my robot's attributes. And boy, what a difference it makes! The game is actually fun now. Well, for a while. Even with speed taking my shield stats, the game is still too easy. Versus mode is basically a one-on-one match, but with certain rules that you can apply. Co-op mode is a 2-on-1 match. You and a friend will battle the computer, which makes this game even easier than it already is. However, I did not find it to be more fun than single player.
Look at how much
because
crap
the game is
is
slowed
on the
down.
HUD.
Now in single player, there will be times where the frame rate will become choppy, which is highly noticeable and super annoying. But in co-op mode, instead of a choppy
HUD
frame rate,
itself
the
is
whole
way
game
too
has
big.
been
It
slowed
takes up
down,
a
which
third
makes
of the
playing it
screen.
so
Yeah.
boring. Now for some decent news. I thought the graphics weren't that bad. I was actually surprised by how good they looked. But still, it feels like the developers focused on the
Looks like a
graphics more than
Dreamcast
anything
game,
in this
honestly.
game.
Nah,
The
no.
controls, when you first start out, are torture. Aiming with the Wiimote was the only
No,
control
I'd
method
say
that
it's at
doesn't
least
suck.
GameCube level.
Even just moving around is a pain. The problem is the camera. It's so close behind your robot that you can't see anything past your waist, making it very frustrating when there are objects on the field which for some reason you can't just step on. You have to shoot or go around them. Along with some type of gun at your disposal, your robot can also perform melee attacks. To do this, you have to swing the nunchuck, but the problem is that the motion sensors will not read your movements correctly frequently, so your best melee attack method is just to flail the nunchuck. Now going back to the easy factor, there are some special weapons throughout the levels which you can pick up, which will destroy your opponent faster than your stock weapon, which doesn't really add fun to the game because it's too easy. Each time you kill off your opponent for the 5th time to advance to a new stage, there is like no sense of accomplishment. All it does is show you the stats of the battle, which is just annoying.
Oh, wow.
Every time you're about to go into battle, there will be a little verbal duel between you and your opponent. Now look at this. The text will sometimes move fast, but usually too slow. What the heck? It's like watching someone type the script on the spot really slow. This
Yes,
is just
I
weird.
can't.
Is it too much for this
And
game to
I
handle
will.
script? Battle Rage Mech Conflict is such a bad game. Why do developers put out such crap? Now I do have to say, with the controls, gameplay, camera, and frame rate making this game almost unplayable in the beginning, if you can play through it to the point where you've gotten used to the controls, the game can be pretty fun. That is, in single-player mode. It definitely is not in multiplayer, but I did have some fun while in single-player mode. And the graphics aren't that bad either. However, since there are just so many bugs and the fact that I found the game to be too easy, there is virtually no point in playing this game, unless you just want to be able to say, yes, I have played this game. I was hoping that this game would be like the giant robot game Sega produced, Virtual On,
There you go.
but instead, I basically got the opposite thing. This game gets a 1.25 out of 5 with the title of horrible.
Have you seen gameplay of Armored Core 6?
No.
Like, compare that to that game to this, and oh my gosh. Imagine being a giant fighting robot standing next to a tiny pebble and not being able to step on it. Yeah.
I feel like I didn't say anything about the UI.
Yeah,
I should've.
it takes up so much of the screen real estate.
Especially when you're in multiplayer mode, you get half the screen, and
Yeah.
so I thought.
So basically, you only have like a third of the entire TV you can point at.
Yeah. And I thought Zero Gravity, Sonic Riders Zero Gravity, took up too much if you used the Wiimote to point where you wanted to go. But seeing that one is worse.
Mm-hmm. Did that game have 4-player co-op or just 2?
I don't remember. It was just.
Oh gosh,
it was just,
could you imagine?
It was just you and me playing.
Could you imagine
it
if
could
it was
not have
4-player?
No way. It probably couldn't handle it. Do you still hold up on the score for your Battle Rage review? Yeah.
What was that? 1.5?
1.25.
1.25. That's a 3 out of 10. Yeah. Do you ever do that with your scores? Like,
yeah.
You multiply it by 2 so you know how much out of 10 it is to make it easier to. Because that's what I do.
Sometimes, but I mean, I've done it for so long. I don't usually have to think about.
Oh really?
What it would be. Unless I give it scores that are really rare, like in the 2s and 1s. But I mean, 4.5, that's easy.
Right.
4s are easy, so. Anyway. Okay, Dragon Quest Swords is the first Dragon Quest game I ever played, and I know it's not a true regular Dragon Quest game, but.
It's like a spin-off.
Oh, I think this is the last review I did before we moved.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I
Okay.
went to school in another state and everything.
Yeah, okay.
It's time for the Dragon Quest Swords, the Masked Queen, and the Tower of Mirrors review for the Wii. This is the first Dragon Quest game I've ever played. I don't know why, but I was never really interested in the series. However, watching this year's E3 of Dragon Quest IX, I gotta say, it looked pretty good. Oh, and also, if you guys would like to see an excellent review of Dragon Quest IX, check out the Shock Suspects review.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, on with this
That
game.
guy-
Now,
that
I've
guy's
read that
name
this
is
is
now
a spin-off
Green
of the standard
Suspect.
Dragon Quest games, but since I've
Or
never played
Suspect
any
Green.
before this one, the same rules apply to this game as the Crystal Bears did with the standard Final Fantasy games, and that is I will not be comparing this game to any other Dragon Quest game. The story is about your character, how he has just turned 16 years old and now is declared a manly man, even though he looks like a scrawny little nothing. Because you have turned 16, you get a brand new car! No, not really. Instead, you have to go through a cave and defeat the boss inside to prove your worth. And, well, as to not spoil anything, I'll just say completing it is basically the tutorial, and when you come back to town, mischief is brewing and you have to go on quests to figure out what is going on. I found the genre of this game to be quite unique. It's a first-person, sword-slashing, real-time RPG. As you go through the wilderness, you will encounter enemies you will have to fight to advance.
This actually
to kill
does
them
look
off,
kind of
you will
fun.
use your sword via slashing and thrusting with the Wiimote. To help you on your quest, 3 characters will join up with you. The thing is, though, only 1 character will fight with you during the whole mission. I thought that was stupid, because throughout quite a bit of the game, all 3 of them are with you while the story is playing out, but you can only have 1 fight with you during every mission. I also really didn't like the fact that you can't switch out a member for another during a battle. It would have been so helpful in some of the areas of the game, but no, the developers made a stupid decision and said no to that good idea. Each member have spells which can either help you by giving you attribute bonuses, or healing you, or both. You don't have to worry about what weapons and armor each of them have. All you have to do is make sure they stay alive in battle. As you go through each area and kill off enemies, you will acquire treasures, some of which can heal you, bring your partner back to life, and some of which are special items you can forge at the blacksmith into better weapons. You can also buy better armor and items for your quests, which are very helpful. When you purchase certain swords, you will learn special techniques, which do a lot of damage and just look plain awesome. I thought the graphics were good. It's very cartoony, which was fine. It's nothing amazing, but it's not an eyesore either. I have mixed reactions with the controls. See, when you're in town, you can walk freely anywhere, but when you're on a mission, you are completely on rails. Now, you would think that moving freely would be the better of the two, right? Well, in my opinion, the on-rails portions of the game were better. Why? Because moving around is done with the D-pad, not the analog stick and the nunchuck. Now, the Wiimote is not held horizontally, but vertically. This method makes turning very awkward and a bit frustrating. However, when you're on a mission on rails, all you have to do is press forward, and the game will just guide you. Now, even though this method is nice and easy,
See,
if you
I
know
said
me, I
press
don't
forward,
like being
not
on
press
rails.
forward
I
on
want
the-
to really explore on my
stick.
own. Yes, I know this game did not intend me for me to do that, but oh well. Like I said before, you will slash and thrust the Wiimote to, of course, slash and thrust your sword to kill off your enemies. These controls are pretty good for the most part. Yes, there will be occasions where your intended vertical slash will become a diagonal slash and vice versa, but overall I thought they worked pretty well. There's a lock-on system where you can point anywhere on the screen, press A, and that's where your sword will swing. If you don't lock onto any point on the screen, the sword will target the middle of the screen. You also have a shield, which you can block with B. Thing is though, after taking so many hits, your shield will start to crumble. There's an item which restores your shield back to normal, which I think gives this game a nice little twist. I like the art of the characters in this game because they look like characters from Dragon Ball Z, for obvious reasons. Some characters were really hot, and some were really not.
Oh my god.
Ugh. And what's with this character? What the hell? Okay, moving right along. This game is fun, but the biggest problem with it is the battle system. While interesting and fun, it becomes very monotonous and repetitious. So much so that it decreases the overall fun factor because of the lack of variety. Every mission is basically the same. Find your way through the level, fight off enemies, collect items, and battle the boss at the end. And I know this is a very familiar routine, but this game, in my opinion, just dumbs it down. There was nothing surprising in the game after playing it for a few hours. It was just the same thing over and over. Another downside was that you could only put so many items in your pockets, like healing and MP items, stuff like that, was very limited in the amount you could carry. This was very annoying as the game can become pretty difficult. The boss fights were fun, but it was just like fighting a stronger and more powerful enemy while on the path to get to the boss. Good thing you can learn awesome attacks with your sword, otherwise the boss fights, and actually the whole game would not be as fun or interesting. Dragon Quest Swords, The Masked Queen, and the Tower of Mirrors is a pretty good game. Good graphics, overall well done controls, cool weapons and special attacks, and it's actually pretty addicting. However, the fun can be drowned out by the overall monotonous and repetitious battle system, and this is a big problem because it's the main feature of the game. And also, I didn't like it that only one character would fight alongside you at a time, you could only carry a small amount of items, the story was kind of predictable, and the game is only about 8 hours long. Now, it's not a bad game, I definitely don't think it is, but there just needs to be more variety in the gameplay. It just feels like there was a lot of potential, and if there was more to it, this game would be great. Sadly, I don't think it is great, but I still had a really fun time with it. This game gets a 3.5 out of 5 with the title of good.
Filthy monster. Or no, fishy monster.
I think I did finish that game. And like we were on a time crunch because we were about to move.
Oh yeah.
And I had to send it back to GameFly.
Oh.
Oh man. I have never played Chrono Trigger. I hear it's really good, but
I played a little bit, and like I just couldn't get into it. I at the time I didn't understand how the combat system worked. It was just too confusing. And then I watched a playthrough of it several years ago, and I can definitely tell it's a really good game. But I never finished I never finished watching that playthrough.
That's a good question for all of us. What is one game that you can think of that the masses love, but you're just like, eh, or you don't really like it, or whatever?
Yeah, it would probably be Chrono Trigger for me. Although I probably could give it another chance, I'm sure. I can tell it's a good game, and some of the music in it is really good. Let me think. Well, what's a game for
I'm
you?
trying to think. Oh, really? That's one reason I haven't played it, Dean Gavitt, is because it is turn-based.
It's not turn-based.
Dean Gavitt says it is.
It's more. I told you about this. It plays similar to Xenoblade than anything else.
Oh.
It's like you have to wait. All the characters have like a meter they fill up, and once that meter finishes, then they perform their actions.
I think I know a game. I'll say Mario 2.
Mario 2?
I'm not really a fan of it
like
at all.
USA?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because to be technical, it really never was a Mario game to begin with.
Well, that doesn't make it a bad game.
No, but coming from Mario 1, going to Mario 2, I have this expectation in mind, and it was just
for what
so,
it is.
I just don't like it.
Okay.
Dean Gavitt says Elden Ring.
Oh man, really?
Mm-hmm.
You hate the boss fights? Oh man, that's a shame. I love Elden Ring.
Mr. Toad, Ocarina of Time. Wow.
Oh really?
I mean, I like it. I don't think it's the best Zelda, but I like it.
I do too. I appreciate what it is, like, kind of like what it established for like 3D action games going forward. But yeah, it's definitely not the best.
Okay, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Maybe this was the game I reviewed right before we moved. I can't remember. It's either right before or right after.
It's time for the Metroid Prime 3 Corruption review for the Wii. Corruption is the sequel to Metroid Prime 2 Echoes and takes place 6 months after the events in Echoes. The story in this game is pretty extravagant compared to the prequels, so I'll just tell you the bare minimal. Samus, along with other bounty hunters, are to eliminate a computer virus from a selection of supercomputers which are scattered throughout the galaxy. Eventually, due to events played out, Samus will acquire a new item which allows her to harness the energy of Phazon, which, if
Pursuit
you're not
looks
in
really
tune with
cool
Metroid
like that.
World, is a deadly radioactive substance which allows her to shoot super powerful Phazon projectiles at the expense of her health. So now with her new ability, you set out on your mission, investigating different areas of the galaxy. Once you start playing through Corruption, you will notice a few changes that the prequels lacked. One is that there is now voice acting. Yes, Echoes did have a bit of voice acting, but not really. In Corruption, everyone now has a voice. When you interact with someone, they'll usually speak to you as well as the game providing you with text at the bottom of the screen, and I like this change. Another difference is that Samus's ship is now used for something more than just saving your game and replenishing your ammo. Like I said before, you'll be exploring the galaxy, and so Samus's new-looking gunship will transport you there. You don't actually get to pilot the ship, which I found to be a bit disappointing, but it's no biggie. You can also sit in the ship and play with some of the functions, which was pretty cool. And last but certainly not least, your ship will play a part in helping you solve puzzles, which I thought was really cool because with the previous two Prime games, your ship stayed in one spot for virtually the whole game. I'm not including Hunter since I've never played it. So anyway, giving Samus's ship a higher role in this game was awesome. If you've only played one Metroid
Did
game,
Hunters
you'll most
come
likely
out
know what to
before or
expect
after
from
this
Corruption.
game?
Kind of like the way if you've only played one Zelda game, you basically
After?
know what to expect from them, excluding the horrors of the CDI Zelda games. Anyway, this game and all the other Metroid games I've played have a similar concept that's been used in many video games. Get through the level, collect items, battle bosses. However, with Metroid, this can be very difficult and frustrating. Why? Well, for one, Metroid games have virtually no linear design to them. You will constantly be going back and forth and sideways and upways and downways and slantways. Ugh, I sound like Willy Wonka. Anyway,
you
you
bump
will
your
be
mic?
searching each area
I think so.
extensively. And if that isn't enough, you will have to do it by yourself. What I mean is, figuring out where to go next and having the story play out can be quite challenging because there really isn't anyone there to guide you. Yes, Samus does have her computer which will nudge you in the right direction occasionally, but the majority of the game has to be solved by you and you alone. And that's why it isn't a game for everyone. You have to have some serious patience if you want to succeed, especially in this particular Metroid game, because instead of just one area as a whole, like one planet with Metroid Prime 1 and 2, you now have several planets and areas to search through in the galaxy. The graphics have never looked better in a Metroid game than they are in Corruption. Prime 1 and 2 graphics were amazing as well, but Corruption looks even better. Now, if you've watched my
Hunters
Prime 1
came
and
out
2
before
reviews,
3.
you will know that I had an issue with the controls, and that was when an enemy wasn't directly in front of you,
I've
you
not
would have
played
to move
Hunters.
around a bit to get a lock on, or by holding down the R button, you could move your cannon around, but your legs would lock in place and you couldn't move from that spot. However, since Corruption is on the Wii, the aiming and moving problem is fixed. You can now move freely with the joystick and the nunchuck while aiming your cannon with the Wiimote. Now, since this problem is fixed, you think the controls would be perfect, right? Well, almost. There will be times where you will have to pull a lever or push some buttons or whatever, and you will have to use the Wiimote to do this. The problem is minor, but it does exist. Sometimes the motion sensors will not read your movements correctly, and this happens frequently, which becomes frustrating. I am happy to say that this is the only flaw with the controls, as everything else worked great. As in previous Metroid games, you will have to scan a lot of items to win the game. Now, not everything needs to be scanned, but others are mandatory. Now, I like scanning as much as I can, so I thought of it as a side quest. You will even be awarded if you scan enough. Now, this next part is going to be hard to explain. This game is fantastic, no doubt. The graphics, controls, gameplay, everything is amazing. But I don't know what it is, but corruption doesn't appeal to me like Prime 1 and 2 did. There's just something about it which I can't fully explain, but I feel like I had more fun with Prime 1 and 2. Now, I'm definitely not saying corruption isn't fun, because it most certainly is. I still really like the game, but there's something about it. I'm gonna take a guess and say it's because of how much there is to explore. There is so much that it could become overwhelming because, like I said before, you have to figure out virtually everything by yourself. I wasn't joking when I said you have to have some serious patience to beat this game, because you
This is
really
cool.
do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you will quit early on because of the lack of instant self-gratification you might get from other games. The boss fights were very fun in this game, and actually, I think most of them were more difficult than in the prequels, which I really enjoyed. Metroid Prime 3 Corruption is an amazing game if you have the patience for it. Sometimes great-looking graphics, spot-on controls, and amazing gameplay combined isn't enough for some people. If you love Prime 1 and 2, I'd have to say don't expect the exact same thing. Yes, the principles are the same, but since there is so much to explore, don't be surprised if you become overwhelmed once in a while, because I know I did. It's still a terrific game though, and I definitely recommend it to those of you who love Metroid like I do. This game gets a 4.5 out of 5 with the title of Epic.
I feel like I remember that boss was really difficult.
Yeah. Walkout Retro Studios originally wanted Samus to collect bounties to earn money to buy upgrades. Nintendo
Oh.
rejected this idea. That would have made perfect sense
Well,
for her character.
I think I know why. It's because when Nintendo first created Samus, they actually didn't know exactly what bounty hunter meant. They just thought it was like
Oh.
they thought it meant like she's just an adventurer, but in English it actually means she hunts for bounties.
Yeah.
They just didn't know that.
I haven't played all the Metroid games, but are there any where she does just that in some regard to collect bounties?
Maybe
'Cause
hunters.
I haven't.
I don't know.
I haven't experienced that.
I know in Hunters there are a lot of bounty hunter characters in that game. So maybe in that one.
Isn't Captain Falcon a bounty hunter? Or am
Yeah.
I remembering it wrong?
Yeah, he is. I wonder if Nintendo knows what I wonder if Nintendo knew what a bounty hunter meant when they made him.
By the way, I am so wanting an F-Zero game for Switch or the Switch's successor.
Oh yeah.
They just kind of gave up after GX.
I really like F-Zero 99.
Yeah,
It's really fun.
I'm like, eh. I tried it, and it's not for me.
You need to try it again.
Nah,
It's fun.
nah.
You're just too picky.
Or maybe you're not picky enough.
I think
That's
it's
crazy. So that since 3 is way more linear than 1 and 2.
Well,
So-
yeah, 3 it's like you have to you're on one planet at a time. You just kind of explore that planet, and then once you're done with that, you go to the next one. At least that's how it is, like in the beginning.
There
after
are
a while-
points you have to go back.
Yeah, after a while, but that's kind of toward the late game.
All right. Terrible bowling game.
Okay, no, we played this one in the first house. So this was before we moved.
I think it's because I saved the footage and I did it
Really?
later.
It's time for the Brunswick Pro Bowling Review for the Wii. A bowling game on the Wii. Controlled by the Wiimote, it should be a pretty good simulation of a real game of bowling. These were my first thoughts about this game until I played it. Why? Well, we'll find out in a bit. There really isn't that much to say about this game, so this review is going to be really short. The principle is this: pick a pre-made avatar or create your own. Why do they look like they're stoned? Then bowl with him or her in a quick game or a league. A quick game is just that, a single game you can play by yourself or with up to 3 other friends.
okay.
If you join a league, you'll have to work your way up by competing and winning against the computer. So there you go. It's a very simple concept, but why didn't I have any fun? I bet you can guess. Yep, the controls are crap. I couldn't believe it. The bowling game in Wii Sports had way better controls. To bowl the ball, you're supposed to perform like you would bowling a real bowling ball. The
Hey,
thing
Cat
is,
Fox.
though, the motion sensors
Thanks
would
for
not
joining.
even pick up your movements a lot, so your avatar would just stand there looking like an idiot. I first thought that the batteries in my Wiimote were dying, but nope, they were just fine. So it's back to starting to get your character to bowl the dang ball. Once you finally managed to do so, the ball would roll like this. Wow, exhilarating. So I played like this for about 20 minutes, and then I let my brother have a shot at it. And wouldn't you know it, the very first throw went like this.
Hey, let's
So I
go.
watched him carefully, and I sort of found out what I was doing wrong. So I tried it again, and this time I bowled like you were supposed to. However, this doesn't mean I and even my siblings bowl like pros the rest of the game. The controls would respond correctly to our throws about 40% of the time. We tried to work with the controls, but in the end, we just stopped playing after maybe a little over an hour because it just wasn't fun. Now, the controls weren't the only thing that made us quit. It was also the atmosphere of the game. While the graphics do look pretty good, the game becomes really boring. All of the bowling alleys are really dull looking. There's no real excitement to the visuals, and the music is just blah. Now, since this game was going for a realistic style, it did succeed in that way, but still, they could have spiced things up just a bit. It was just boring. There are unlockables you can get, like clothing for your avatar and special designs on the bowling ball, but I
The
seriously
strike and
had no
spare
interest in
animations are
acquiring
kind
it.
of lame
Brunswick
too.
Pro Bowling is not a good game. Now, it's not unplayable, but it's probably a game you would
Oh,
want to think twice
gosh.
about renting. If you want a boring, crappy controlling, realistic bowling game, here you go. But if you actually want to have fun with a bowling simulation, just play the bowling game on Wii Sports or Wii Sports Resort. If you're looking for a game to play with your friends, don't even consider this game. They might not be your friends anymore. This game
Wow.
gets a 1.75 out of 5 with the title of Bad.
What? That's the animation
Yeah.
for a strike?
Yeah.
That's so lame. Like that should be the part of the game you should like put the most amount of like personality in.
Yep.
Those strike animations and spare animations.
I don't know if you guys know, but Red and I, we go bowling pretty much every Tuesday after work. And we have our own personalized, custom fitted bowling balls,
Yeah.
bowling shoes, bowling socks, and bowling shirt, as you probably saw in the first announcement video for this entire live stream series. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's fun. We're not that great at it, but we still have fun.
My highest score, I keep track of all my scores since we've been playing last year, and my highest score is 198, and I think the most strikes I've had is 5 in a row, and spares is 4 in a row, and I'm averaging somewhere in the 120 to 130 a game. We don't have bowling balls that hook, because we're still amateurs with it, but we just bowl straight bowl, but it's still really fun.
I think my highest score is 160. It's either 160 or 175. I forgot.
I think it was 165 because you
165?
were. I think so because you were like 10 points behind my at then high score of 175.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
Oh, Dean Gavitt watching Weare and Little Weare compete in this game was so funny. I don't think I saw that.
In
In
Brunswick
the-
Pro
yeah,
Bowling?
uh-huh.
Oh, interesting. You know, I watched a video of his again.
Recently?
It was do you remember his Play Choice 10 videos? It was that big arcade thing that had NES games in it. It was like
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I watched him play. It was Goonies 1 and 2.
Oh.
Yeah, I well, the reason I watched that is because the AVGN, he just uploaded a video recently about Goonies 1 and 2.
Cat Fox, was the bowling game your lowest rated game? No.
No, that's Anubis II.
Yeah. Well, up until now, it's Anubis II with a .25, I think. 0.5, something like that.
Yeah, 0.5.
0.5, yeah. Mr. the Gamer, I'm nowhere near the best bowler, but a few years ago I had a game where I actually popped off. I think my score was 203. Man,
Ooh,
I
no,
was,
he says 204.
Oh, 204.
Wow.
I was so mad that I only hit 198. And it wasn't it wasn't where the last frame I got all the pins and my score was 198. It was I could have gotten higher if I hit more pins
In the last frame.
in the last frame, and I was like, so mad.
2 of 4 is really good.
Yeah.
Our grandfather, apparently he was like a really good bowler.
Mm-hmm.
Did Dad say he bowled a 300 game once?
I think he did, and he knew how to hook it and be a professional,
Yeah,
and
he was like in a league.
had a lot of first place trophies, and unfortunately he died when I was like not even one due to
I heard he died before you were born.
no
Oh.
I was born.
Oh, okay.
He died I think a few months after, but
Yeah, he was a heavy smoker, so he died of lung cancer.
yeah. So, but anyway, it runs in our family, the bowling gene.
Yeah.
Okay, Pikmin 2. Here we go.
It's time for the Pikmin 2 review for the GameCube. Man, this was such a hard game to find in stores. Yes, I know, I could have just bought it online, but, you know, I really wanted to find it in a store. It was like treasure hunting, and when I finally found it, I was actually a bit startled, because it really is a rare game to find. Oh yeah, and I of course bought it right away. The story in this game is about how Olimar has returned to his home planet after his adventure in the original Pikmin. Long story short, Olimar's boss tells him that their business is in serious debt, and they have to find a way to pay their loan back. They find out that a piece of material Olimar brought back with him is very valuable, and so Olimar's boss tells him to go back to the planet and find other treasures to pay back the loan. Jeesh, what a jerk, he just got back home. Anyway, this time, Olimar
He
isn't
didn't even
going
get
back
to see his
solo, and
family.
an underling named Louie
So
goes
sad.
along to assist him. When they reach the planet, you are greeted by red Pikmin, and so your mission begins. First of all, Pikmin are very small animal-plant hybrids who for some reason have taken a like to Olimar and Louie. You'll use Pikmin to help you out by picking up and transporting items to your ship, knocking down walls and building bridges for new paths, and fighting enemies. In this game, you get to work with the standard red, yellow, and blue Pikmin, but in addition to those, you will eventually find purple and white Pikmin to help you out. Each colored Pikmin have a unique trait or special ability. Red Pikmin are your standard fighters and cannot be burned up by fire. Yellow Pikmin can be thrown up higher than the other Pikmin and are also resistant to electricity. Blue Pikmin can breathe in water and also act as lifeguards to drowning Pikmin. Purple Pikmin are very heavy and can really pack a punch to enemies. One purple Pikmin counts as much as 10 regular-sized Pikmin, which can be very helpful when you need to carry an item really fast. The catch is, when following you though, they are really slow. White Pikmin, however, are very fast, can withstand toxic air, and can find hidden treasures underneath the ground. They are also poisonous to creatures if they eat them, so each Pikmin has something different to contribute to your success. To create more Pikmin, you will have to have your Pikmin carry over flower pellets or killed off enemies over to their onion. An onion is a small ship the Pikmin occupy. When, let's say, a red Pikmin brings over a pellet or a dead enemy to their onion, new Pikmin will be created from the item. There is no such thing as too many Pikmin. Even though you can only have a max of 100 Pikmin out with you at a time, you can still create more. If you do have 100 Pikmin out at a time, the excess of new Pikmin will just stay in their onions. Now the red, yellow, and blue Pikmin each have their own onion, but the purple and white Pikmin don't. They stay in Louie's ship. To gain more purple or white Pikmin, you will have to find special plants which will convert red, yellow, or blue Pikmin into purple and or white Pikmin. You must take good care of your purple and white Pikmin because the special plants are not scattered throughout each area and finding them can be challenging. In the original Pikmin, Olimar was your only playable character, but in Pikmin 2, you now have Louie at your disposal. This was an excellent move by the developers. Why? Well, now you can get twice as much done in the same amount of time. You can have Olimar have his Pikmin break down a wall, while Louie and his Pikmin kill off enemies and take them to the onions. If you haven't played the original Pikmin before, you might not know exactly how I feel about having two playable characters in Pikmin 2. It makes the game easier and a lot more fun. Speaking of a lot more fun, there's no time limit in this game. In the original Pikmin, you had 30 days to beat the game, or in real time, about 7.5 hours. But since there's no time limit in this game, you can take your time. Now there is a day-to-day time limit. Each day lasts about 15 minutes, and then you'll have to go back to your ship because of nocturnal predators who want to eat you and the Pikmin. It may sound annoying, but it really isn't. Now if you don't want any time limit at all, there are special places for that.
Oh no, they're not gonna
Eventually,
make
you'll
it.
find caves underground which don't have any time limit. The catch is, there's only a small amount of treasure, and it can be pretty dangerous if you're not careful because of the fact that you can't create new Pikmin while down in the caves. So be careful and get through the caves safely and strategically. The graphics look beautiful. The original Pikmin looked awesome, but Pikmin 2 looks brighter, more detailed, and realistic, which just makes playing this game even better. The controls are the same as they were in the original Pikmin, and that's a good thing because I found them to be perfect in the prequel, and that's just what they are here. You'll move with the analog stick, press A to throw a Pikmin, press B to call them back, and use the C stick to maneuver the Pikmin around you. To switch back and forth between Olimar and Louie, simply press the Y button. Just like in the prequel, you can find Golden Nectar, which will upgrade your Pikmin by having them grow a flower on their head, which will make them stronger and faster. Now in this game, there are some new kinds of nectar you can find. If you spray on the Pikmin using the D-pad, it will supercharge them, so to speak, which will make them even stronger and faster than ever before. To make this game even better, there are quite a bit of little upgrades. Like for example, when Pikmin drink the nectar, they grow a flower faster than in the prequel, more Pikmin can drink from the same nectar pool, and when new Pikmin are created from their onions, they sprout out of the ground very fast compared to the original. It's just as the saying goes, it's the little things in life you appreciate. There's a 2-player battle mode in this game, and it's pretty fun and addicting. You and a friend will each have their own set of Pikmin, and the objective is to find and bring back to your own ship either 4 marbles throughout the land, or capture the opponent's marble and bring it back to your base. Add in some power-ups and attacks, and it makes it even better. Pikmin 2 is a superb game. The original Pikmin had fantastic graphics, perfect controls, very fun, addicting gameplay, and so does Pikmin 2, if not better. There is no time limit, there's a handful of minor upgrades, controlling not only Olimar, but also Louie adds even more fun to the gameplay, and a 2-player battle system makes Pikmin 2 a definite must-have for anyone who enjoyed the original Pikmin. Now there were a couple of downsides with this game, and that was one, whenever you press the X button, your Pikmin would be dismissed into their own groups, which then you can choose to only take a certain colored group of Pikmin with you, or just a single Pikmin, depending on the situation. The problem is that the groups of different Pikmin are too close together, and it can be frustrating trying to take only one type with you when the others would follow with you as well. And 2, sometimes it would be difficult trying to tell where flying enemies were due to the depth perception, which just made trying to take them down annoying and sometimes a bit frustrating. However, this is still a fantastic game. If you've played the original Pikmin and enjoyed it, then I highly doubt you will be disappointed with Pikmin 2, and I highly recommend it. This game gets a 4.75 out of 5 with a title of Epic.
Oh yeah, that's right. You did give it that score.
I'm watching that, and it's just very similar to Pikmin 4.
Yeah.
I was gonna say about the that little audio blip.
Mm-hmm.
There were various reviews throughout my career where Pinnacle Studio or mostly Windows Movie Maker, when it would render everything, certain audio clips, it wouldn't get rendered correctly, so like it would like erase the very beginning of the first syllable of the whatever I was speaking, especially on plosive sounds, and that's what you saw. And I remember with this review and specifically Sonic Riders, I had to re-export them multiple times, and it got to the point where I was just wasting so much time, and I was like, I don't care, I'm just gonna go with it. And that's what you heard. And actually Breath of the Wild has it too.
Oh really?
Yep.
Viddy says, my dad and I played a few versus matches in Pikmin 2. It was fun. That's cool. That our parents would never play a game like Pikmin. It would just be way too complicated for them.
They may be watching right now.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
Yeah, hi. They watched us last time we did this.
Yeah. Which Pikmin game do you recommend the most, and which one is your absolute favorite? Both answers are Pikmin 4.
Yeah, I would say that.
Pikmin 4 is the best one. And I was actually thinking about this, like the ranking, when I was just watching this. For me, I think it's 4, 3, 1, 2. Even though I gave 2 a higher score, there's just that nostalgia factor for me that I like 1 better than 2. I also like that in 1 there is that time limit, so there's that added pressure to do well, which for some people they don't like, but for me I do like that. It's an extra challenge. It plays like Myst. Yes, it's just like Myst. Actually, I thought of the just like Myst thing when we were watching Prime 3, and Samus was like swinging through the air through these rings.
Oh yeah,
through. And that reminded me of Myst.
That actually does look like the art style of Myst environments.
Maybe I should review a Myst game for my parents.
Yeah, they'd love that.
Well, I'm not sure how I would do it. I'd have to go to computer, PC reviews, which I'm not ready to do that.
They're on some consoles, right?
Exile is on Xbox.
Oh, okay.
And there's a Myst game on the DS, which was terrible.
It needs to come out on the Switch. I think it'd sell well.
Yeah, point and click should do well on Switch in handheld mode. Okay, Double Dash, here we go.
It's time for the Mario Kart Double Dash review for the GameCube. Ah yes, another Mario Kart game. If you absolutely don't know what Mario Kart is, stop living under a rock and pick up a controller. Mario Kart Double Dash, or basically any Mario Kart game, is a racer where you compete against Mario characters of the Mushroom Kingdom on go-karts or other vehicles. The Mario Kart franchise is a simple and addicting one, and if you've ever played one of them, you'll basically know what to expect. However, each version has something different, so let's take a look at what Double Dash offers.
I have so
We've
many
got
memories
the standard
of,
Grand Prix, time trials, and a battle mode. In the Grand Prix, you
super
get to
long
choose a
hours of the
specific
night
cup you
with
would
a
like
friend.
to race in. Each cup
With
consists
this
of
game?
4
With
tracks.
this game,
Once you
Yeah,
complete a
this game is
race,
great.
depending on which position you came
I
in
would
from first
steer
to
and
8,
they would
you
handle
be
the-
awarded with a certain number of
the
points.
items.
At
Oh,
the end
yeah.
of all 4 races, your points are tallied up, and if you had more points than anyone else, you of course win. Coming in first will grant you access to new cups and other special prizes. Now, of course, there's multiplayer in this game. However, Double Dash offers a unique feature that no other Mario Kart game does, and that's the privilege of being able to play co-op with another friend. This is how it works. In Double Dash, you get to choose not 1, but 2 characters to race with in the same vehicle. Now, it isn't too thrilling if you're just playing alone, but if you have a friend with you, they can be one of the characters on your team. One person drives while the other handles the weaponry. Now, don't worry, Mom and Dad. When I say weaponry, I mean Koopa shells, bananas, and other various obscure items that can give you an advantage. Now, there are fireballs and massive chained alive spheres with huge sharp teeth that would make Sylvester Stallone crap his pants at the first glance if they were real, but that's beside the point. Now, like I said, there are Koopa shells, bananas, and all the other standard Mario Kart items to help you out during the race. However, there are special items you can acquire that are unique to each character. Like with Mario and Luigi, they can obtain fireballs that they can throw at the opponents. Or like with Peach and Daisy, they can get a heart shield that will give them invincibility from a harmful item, and they will also gain that item if it makes contact with them while the shield is up. Talk about cheap. Anyway,
That is
new
the
unique
most
items are a very
broken
nice
special
welcome, which
item.
for some reason didn't make it into Mario Kart Wii, but oh well. It's a good idea when choosing characters to create an odd team like Waluigi and Birdo instead of Toad and Toadette so that they can get 2 different special items instead of 1. Another cool addition was that now instead of 1 item, you can now hold 2 at a time. Now, technically, you can hold specific items behind your vehicle in other Mario Kart games, but in this one, you can officially get 2 different items at once. This game is fun, and it's even better when you have someone to play with in co-op mode. Now, of course you can play against your friends, but co-op mode is something I wish Mario Kart Wii had. And yes, I know Mario Kart Wii only had 1 character per vehicle, but I still wish they had added that as a feature. Working with a friend to achieve a common goal can be so much fun. Hooray for teamwork!
Ew.
The graphics are,
That's gross.
well, what you would expect from a Mario game. Colorful, bright, virtually everything has a smiley face on it, normal. The controls are bittersweet. Everything works like it's supposed to, however, it doesn't matter what vehicle you use, it always, at least for me, feels like you're steering with back-wheel drive, which can be a pain, frustrating to get used to. Now, it's not like it'll take you days and days to figure it out, but for me, Double Dash had the steepest learning curve when it came to maneuvering a vehicle.
Yeah,
in
steering
battle
feels
mode,
really
you get
weird
to
in
choose
this
between
game.
3 different game modes: Balloon Battle, Shine Thief, and Bomb Blast. In Balloon Battle, you and your friends get to compete against each other by trying to get rid of each other's balloons first. To do so, you just need to hit them with an item such as a Koopa shell or have them slip on a banana.
That giant
or something
banana
to
is
disrupt
like
them.
the worst
In Shine
item.
Thief, you want to grab the Shine Sprite
Yeah.
somewhere on the level and hold on to it for as long as possible until time runs out.
Or special
Same item
item.
rules apply. If you get hit,
The
you
Shine
lose
Sprite one is
Sprite
really
and you
fun.
watch
Yeah,
it
I
retrieve
like the
before
Shine
anyone
Sprite.
else does.
But this one has
Now,
the
Bomb
best.
Blast is
Yeah.
my siblings in my favorite battle mode in any Mario Kart game. The point of this mode is to try to obtain stars from your opponent by hitting them with bomb-bombs that explode in a big radius. Each time you get hit, your opponent will gain a star. However, if you hit them back, you will regain that star, so the round actually lasts longer than you might think. Mario Kart Double Dash is a great game and a very good addition to the Mario Kart franchise. Now, it isn't my favorite in the series, but that definitely doesn't mean it's bad. My biggest pro with it is the fact that you can play co-op with another friend, which really adds to the fun factor. However, the biggest con I have with it is the steering mechanics. No matter what vehicle you use, in my opinion, it always feels like you're steering with back-wheel drive, which can be frustrating. Another con was that when choosing characters for your team, if you chose a heavy and light character, you would only be able to choose from the heavy character's vehicles and no others, which can be very frustrating if you don't like heavy vehicles like me. However, it is still a great game, and even though it's not my favorite in the Mario Kart series, it does have some positive features that my favorite Mario Kart Wii doesn't have, like 2-player co-op, double items, special items, and Bomb on Blast. This is a great game, and I would recommend it to anyone's GameCube collection. This game gets a 4.25 out of 5 with the title of Awesome. Oh yeah, and Merry Christmas.
Oh, nice. Barely made that first place.
Mm-hmm.
Does it show the time? No. Okay.
Bomb on Blast was the bomb.
It was the bomb.
What about Mist 4 and 5? Do I like it? I've beaten Mist 1, 2, and 3. I've only gotten about a third of the way through 4, and I haven't even touched 5. But I have all of them. I think I have them right behind me, actually. And I think I have all of them for Steam, too.
I see.
Or on Steam.
I see End of Ages and
Yeah, that's
Revelation.
5. Yep. I'd be down for a sequel of Double Dash with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe roster. That'd be cool.
Oh man, that would have been kind of neat if they. Well, let me think. Oh, maybe. Like they added the double items in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but I was thinking, what if they added like an extra feature where you could choose 2 characters, but I don't know. I guess it wouldn't really change it that much.
Did Atlas do the Trauma Team games? Yes. Mario was actually considered as a playable character for Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transform.
Oh, really?
I think the next Mario Kart game, it's not going to be called Mario Kart or whatever. It's going to be just a collab of so many different characters.
Yeah.
Just it's going to be like super video game racing or something.
I think it's going to be either that or it's going to be like a Diddy Kong racing style racing game. Did you know I think a few of the characters from Team Fortress 2 is in Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed.
Characters from TF2?
Yeah.
What?
Like the Heavy, Pyro, and Scout all are in like one car.
In what game?
Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed.
They are?
Yeah.
Huh.
At least I think in like the like PC version or 360 PS3 versions.
Oh, really? Huh. Okay. All right, let's get to a game that I did not expect to like as much as I did. Also, Lizzie really likes this too.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
It's time for the Trauma Team review for the Wii. Now, before I say anything, I just want to warn those of you with weak stomachs, you might want to have a bucket next to you for this review. Now, this game isn't too realistic looking with its anime art style, however, there may be parts in this review that might make some queasy. Alright, on to the review. The objective in this game is to save people's lives by becoming one at a time one of 6 different medical positions, which include surgery, orthopedics, first response, endoscopy, diagnostics, and forensics. You will play each position with a specific character. Each character has their own story, which is played out in chapters, so to speak, or basically the next level. Now, not to be picky or anything, but dang, most of the characters can't take a dang compliment. Virtually every time you complete a level, someone will congratulate your character, and it seems like they always refuse to take credit. Now, this doesn't affect the gameplay or the score I'm giving it, but I don't know. Modesty is a good attribute, but Yeah. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Alright, with surgery, it's pretty obvious. You get to help patients by cutting them, going inside, and trying to fix what's wrong. Usually, the patient has a tumor you had to extract. Now, I'm not going to explain every detail of what you had to do for any of the 6 professions, but you can get a good idea from the footage you're watching. While performing surgery, you have to make sure the patient's vitals are stable, and you can keep them stable by injecting medicine with a syringe into them. If their vitals drop to 0, you lose the level, and you'll have to start over. As you progress through each profession, you will be guided on what to do by your support staff. And don't worry about forgetting on what to do next with a patient. Your character and your support staff won't shut up on telling you what to do next, even in the later levels, even though you probably already know what to do since you did it in the previous levels. Orthopedics deals with helping patients with bone damage. You will get to extract, put back together, and realign bone injuries, as well as drilling and hammering in reinforcements. First Response deals with a character who is an EMT. She is the one who fixes up people before being sent to the hospital. You will put splints on people, perform CPR, remove debris, and do whatever it takes to keep them alive for the ride to the hospital. With endoscopy, you will guide a probe through the patient's body. While doing so, you will extract tumors, treat patients with ulcers, and find and fix any abnormalities while in the esophagus, stomach, intestines, and nether regions of the human anatomy. This was my least favorite profession, as most of the levels were really boring. The last couple were pretty fun, but the majority were mostly dull. Diagnostics was, believe it or not, my favorite profession of the 6. It's funny, because all you did was diagnose patients and use deductive reasoning and logic to figure out what diseases they have. No surgery, no cutting. But that's just it. It was like a big puzzle. You will get clues, or basically symptoms to their diseases by listening to what they have to say, by visual and audible examinations, comparing their test results, and CTs, MRIs, and X-ray scans. You will take all the symptoms you find and link them up with possible diseases based on the descriptions of the diseases. You will eventually link up all the symptoms with the correct disease, which is very satisfying. Forensics deals with finding clues from dead bodies to solve crimes.
Ow.
You will definitely need to have some patience while playing this profession. It took several hours to complete the first level, where all of the other professions take about 10 minutes to half an hour. You will find clues on the victims and their clothes, and also find clues at the crime scene you investigate. You will take these clues in the form of cards and try to combine them to progress through the level. You will have to have good deductive reasoning skills to complete this profession.
What was that
The graphics
mean?
are just fine for
I
this
don't
type
remember.
of game. Nothing too realistic, but it still works.
Was that one
I
of the
personally
armies
think it
or,
could have
like,
been a
from
bit
the
more
game?
I
detailed.
think it was a meme
then again,
based on the character
maybe
you were
not.
analyzing.
The controls
Oh.
work virtually perfect.
That's
You will use the
interesting.
Wiimote nunchuck combo for every profession, and they all worked very well. You will point, twist, and hammer with the Wiimote when needed, and you will use the nunchuck to switch between different medical tools like the scalpel and forceps. There really isn't anything I could find bad with the controls. I guess the only thing I didn't like was when you were suturing a patient. The stitching wouldn't cooperate quite frequently on where I was trying to guide it. It could become very annoying and even frustrating at times. Overall, though, the controls were precise and very well designed. The voice acting was great. It would have been a pain to listen to if the voice acting was crap, but it wasn't. Some parts of the story were pretty funny as well. I'm glad a story was added to this game and it wasn't just medical operations. It really helped with the atmosphere of the game. Now, a negative point that I have to point out is that the game can become repetitious to the point where it becomes kind of boring. Like, basically, every level for each profession is the same thing. Surgery, you perform surgery on people. Orthopedics, you fix bone problems. Diagnostics, you diagnose people, although I find this one to be very fun. The point is, it's basically the same thing for every level for each profession, but with certain variables changed, like a different disease or different broken bones, stuff like that. Now, the game is fun, but I found myself not really curious or excited enough to keep playing till the end of a profession in one sitting. Another thing was the dialogue while performing operations could get very annoying. I'm trying to work here, people. This is like the 50th cut I'm treating. I know I have to clean the blood pools with gauze before I do anything first. During each level, performing each action will be graded based on how well and precise you perform that action. After you complete a level, you will be graded on how well you did, which is based on how well you performed each action. Trauma Team is a great game. Fun and interesting gameplay for each of the 6 professions, good graphics, precise controls, and a good story make this game enjoyable. However, most of the gameplay can become too repetitious and sometimes even boring, especially with endoscopy, and the dialogue can become very annoying, especially when you've heard it over and over during operations. Overall, though, I had a lot of fun with it, and I recommend it to anyone who's looking for something different and unique to play. This game gets a 4 out of 5 with the title of Awesome.
Ooh, Sonic Heroes.
The game where the hooray for blank meme came from.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I thought you were talking about Trauma Team. Like, what?
No.
Trauma Team bombed to such a degree that Atlas gave up on the series as a whole, despite strong sales for previous games. That is really interesting because
that game bombed.
Yeah, I guess.
Wow.
Trauma Team is my favorite out of the 3 that I reviewed. That's really interesting.
You've played the whole series of these hospital games?
I played 3. I don't know if that's the whole series. Yes, I have all 3 right there.
Really?
Yeah. See, right there. He doesn't believe me.
What? Oh yeah, Trauma Team, Second Opinion, and Trauma Team New Blood. Whoa, I didn't know that.
I've reviewed all of them.
You did?
Yes.
I didn't know. I thought that was the only one you reviewed.
No, I like Trauma Team so much. I got those too.
Oh. Huh. Did you review those like after, like I went to high school and?
Oh yeah, this was like when I, 2011, 2012.
You went to university.
Something.
Oh
yeah.
okay. Huh.
Plus, Lizzie really liked Trauma Team, so it was just like, it was a game series that we both really enjoyed.
Oh,
so
okay.
Of course I get those.
Nice.
Yeah, we're now in 2011 of reviews.
Have you played any other Atlas games like Persona or Shin Megami Tensei?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, me neither.
No.
I think. Oh, actually, Espion. She's playing, or she has played, Persona 4, I believe. But I haven't played any of those games.
Some of you might know, I was waiting for the Switch's release, like launch night at Walmart, and I had a pre-order for it, and I was just waiting for it, and I was looking around, and the guy came up to me and he's like, "Hey dude, are you waiting for the Switch?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Did you hear the new character for Smash Bros. Ultimate? It's Joker." And I'm like, "What? Who?" And he's like, you know, from Persona. And I was like, "Oh, I've never played that." He's like, "You've never played Persona? You've never even heard of it?" I was like, "No, I've never." And I thought for a split second he was referring to Batman Joker. And I'm like, what? That's such an obscure character to put in. But yeah, I've never played Persona.
Well, to be fair,
Even to this day.
At the time, Persona 5 was like a humongous hit. Like everyone was playing that game.
It was not in my circles.
Yeah.
I had no idea what it was.
It's kind of a weeb game, I think.
Oh. All right.
Imagine getting in a stranger's face for not playing a game. Yeah.
Okay. There's more games out there that I haven't played versus the ones I have played. Come on. All right, Sonic Heroes. Here we go. Hooray for teamwork.
It's time for the Sonic Heroes review for the GameCube. So first we had Sonic Adventure, then Sonic Adventure 2, then... Huh? Sonic Heroes? Well, this was my first thought when I heard of this game. I was expecting Sonic Adventure 3, which I am still hoping for with the intensity of 1,000 suns! But anyway, I guess this is the closest to Sonic Adventure 3 we have as of right now. No, I'm gonna say it's this one. Granted, I haven't played Sonic Colors as of this review. It might change when I do play Sonic Colors. And yes, don't worry, it will be reviewed. The story in Sonic Heroes sort of has a connection with Sonic Adventure 2. Okay, yeah, it does, but not enough in my opinion, and certainly not enough to make you horribly confused of the plotline if you didn't play SA2.
That was cool.
The
I
simple
thought it was
version
cool
of the
running
story is
backwards.
that Dr. Robotnik is once again trying to take over the world, and it's up to you to stop him. However, you will do this by playing with 12 different
I like
characters,
how
3
Eggman,
at a time.
like,
Or in other
put his
words,
signature
there are 4 teams
on that
consisting of 3
on that
different
paper.
characters in each team. 3 times 4 is 12. Hooray for math! So we have Team Sonic. Bet you can't guess who comprises of this team. Oh wait, you can see by the footage you're watching right now. And the name is pretty obvious as well if you know anything about the world of Sonic. Well, I'll just say it anyway. We have Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. Next we have Team Dark, which... Come on, is that the best name they can come up with? Whatever. Team Dark consists of Shadow,
What would you have
Rouge,
named
and
it?
one of Dr. Robotnik's robots, Omega. Further down the line is Team Rose, which is made up of Amy, Cream the Rabbit, and Big the Cat. And last but not least, we have some characters who make up Team Chaotix, which some of you might not be familiar with unless you played Knuckles Chaotix on the Sega 32X,
I think Team
or if
Shadow
you
is
just
better.
looked it up on Wikipedia. Anyway, in this team we have Espio the Chameleon, Charmy the Bee, and Vector the Crocodile. Each team has their own individual story, however they basically all orbit around each other team's story. Each character in a team has a special ability and or attribute. Sonic, Shadow, Amy, believe it or not, and Espio are the speed characters. Tails, Rouge, Creamy, and Charmy are the flight characters, and Knuckles, Omega, Big, and Vector are the power characters. While in each level, you will have to switch between each character and use their abilities to progress through, since parts of each level require a different team member to help get their teammates through. Hooray for teamwork! In each level, you will find power orb things, which when grabbed by whichever character you're playing at the time, will level up that character at a max of 3 levels. Leveling up a character, no matter which type, will increase damage dealt to enemies, which is the primary upgrade. It will, however, provide each type of character with a better special ability. With speed characters, their Rocket Excel attack, which is more or less a spin dash move, will provide more speed and damage. Leveling up flight characters will not only increase damage dealt, but will also cause chain kills, where you will destroy more than one enemy with a single shot. Leveling up power characters will increase damage dealt by way of performing some kind of new special attack. Each power character's special attack can destroy enemies from a very close range, and when you level them up each time, the range of damage increases, as well as the magnitude of the damage. Each level consists of 2 stages and then a boss fight at the end.
First, more
There are
than
3
anybody.
types of boss fights, which include battling Dr. Robotnik, fighting off hordes of enemy robots, or duking it out with a different team. My personal favorite is destroying the waves of robots, and my least favorite is dueling with a team. The team battles were poorly designed. The fights are like a game of rock, paper, scissors. Speed is good against flight, flight is good against power, and power is good against speed. The problem is that it can become
I feel
very
like the
difficult in trying to determine
rock,
which
paper,
form your
scissors should be
opponents took,
reversed.
since they would attack you vigorously. The best way
What?
I did it was to always stay in flight form and shoot your
Yeah.
teammates at them like crazy. Cheap, but effective.
What do you mean?
The graphics are
Like,
I
bright,
think-
colorful,
Who's
and
more
detailed.
advantageous
I really couldn't find
needs to
anything
be
negative
reversed?
to say about them.
Yeah.
I also really
Can-
enjoyed the cutscenes.
well, can you go back?
I remember watching them for the first time years ago and thinking, wow, of rock, paper,
What?
Yeah, play it.
scissors. Speed is good against flight, flight is good against power, and power is good against speed.
Well,
The problem is that it can become
okay.
very
I guess
difficult in
that
trying to
makes
determine
sense.
which form your opponents took, since they would attack you vigorously. The best way I did it was to always stay in flight form and shoot your teammates at them like crazy. Cheap, but effective. The graphics are bright, colorful, and detailed. I
I
really
love the
couldn't find
music
anything
in
negative
this
to
stage.
oh
say
yeah,
about them.
the music in
I
this
also
whole
really
game
enjoyed
is
the
so
cutscenes.
good.
I remember watching them for the first time years ago and thinking, wow! Now, of course, technology has improved since then, but still, I believe it looks great even today. The controls are great for the most part. There would be a few annoying glitches here and there, but moving around, jumping, and attacking worked just fine for me with any type of character. However, I will say they sucked when you were rolling on a pinball or bingo table in the 3rd level. It was very difficult to move your character, even just a few feet over.
I think
Now,
that
the
was kind
characters
of the
actually
point.
do say that you are only allowed to move them a bit while on the tables, but man, it could become really annoying and frustrating.
Yeah, but when you're
Other than
when you're
that, though,
trying
the
to get
controls
to-
worked out great.
From
When
point
you
A to point
destroy
B,
enemies and
it's
collect
a
rings,
pain.
a gauge at the top right corner of the screen will fill up. When it's full, you will be able to perform your team's final smash, so to speak, or just their ultra attack. All enemies and item boxes within range of this cool-looking and also sometimes weird, really weird attack. How is that an attack? Will be destroyed no matter how powerful the enemies are. Okay, seriously, how is singing an attack? Maybe they really suck at singing and it blows up the enemies or something. And how in the world is this an attack? Okay, I guess I can understand bad singing would somehow blow up the enemies, but what the heck is this? Whatever.
Cuteness
Dying.
overload.
Yeah,
Thinking
cuteness
to yourself,
overload.
4 teams, lots of different levels, right? Wrong. All of the levels are the same for all 4 teams. The only difference in the levels between Team Sonic, Dark, and Rose is that with Sonic, the difficulty is set to normal. With Dark, it's hard difficulty, and with Rose, it's just about one of the easiest things I've ever played. Seriously. Now with Team Chaotix, the difficulty is normal like Sonic's, however, instead of getting from point A to point B, you will be required to find X amount of whatever. Like in the first level, you have to find 10 crabs. In a different level, you have to destroy every single robot in the stage, which can be very annoying. But missions like that. I really like this change. Everyone else is a get to the end of the level scenario, which is fine, but it's the same objective with the first 3 teams in the same levels, which gets old. Another annoyance
In the
was the
same
camera.
order of
Now,
levels,
yes,
too.
you could usually control it
Yeah.
with the 360 rotation, but the AI camera could become a real pain, which happened too much. The voice acting wasn't anything to brag about either. It wasn't horrible, and I don't believe every character had a bad voice actor, but some of them were just bad. Now this next thing is just annoying. While playing through each level, the characters will tell another character what to do to progress through the stage. However, they kept repeating the same thing, even though you knew what to do, and by the time they get done with a quarter of what they're trying to tell you, you've already completed what they were saying for you to do.
Looks like we can go up if we touch the crate coming off that stairs.
Not a huge issue,
Thanks,
but annoying
Cream.
nonetheless. Sonic Heroes is a very good game. Fun and fast-paced gameplay, great controls and graphics, and having to switch up the types of characters throughout each level was fun and strategic. However, the game can get dull and very monotonous due to the same levels for each team, the camera needed an upgrade, and a lot of the voice acting was bleh. Still, this game is very fun, and if you want to have a fun, fast-paced 3D Sonic game, then I don't think this one should be overlooked. It's not the best of the 3D Sonic games, but it's still definitely worth playing. This game gets a 3.75 out of 5, with the title of Awesome.
Yes!
I really like this game, but man, some of those levels take forever to beat. They last way too long.
That was tight!
Favorite Sonic voice actor?
Yeah, he's the best one for sure.
Okay.
Oh, Shadow the Hedgehog.
Shadow the Hedgehog. This is probably the most controversial review I have.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
This game sucks.
Also-
I hate this game.
Also, there's something I say about the controls that is just not true at all. And this is the game I was talking about. If I had to go back and redo,
Oh, really?
I think
Okay.
I would redo some things in this one. But we'll get to it.
Do not play Sonic Heroes on PlayStation 2. I've heard it's the worst version of the game. Play it on GameCube instead. It's the best version. Yeah, we played it on GameCube and
PC.
Yeah, on PC as well. It worked pretty well on both.
Tails' voice in the game was awful. Yeah.
It was
terrible,
like a
terrible.
it was like they got an 8-year-old.
It's the worst Tails voice. And it's not just the voice, it's the script they write.
Yeah.
It's just too babyish. So apparently some of my current subscribers, this was the review to get them to subscribe, and it's
Really?
it's just.
And this is one that you want to redo?
I know okay.
That's funny.
All right, no more delaying. Let's get into it. I haven't watched this review in a long time.
Yeah, I don't even remember what you
It's
say about
time
it.
for the Shadow the Hedgehog review for the GameCube. When I first heard of this game, I thought it'd be kind of cool. Then when I heard more about it, my impressions turned negative. And then when I actually got to play the game, they went south even more. So let's find out why. The story of this game is about Shadow, of course. It deals with finding out just exactly who he is and what his purpose is for. In the beginning of the game, Shadow is standing outside of a city, when all of a sudden, black aliens start appearing out of the sky and start attacking the city. As Shadow ignores them, an alien named Black Doom appears before him, stating that Shadow needs to find the 7 Chaos Emeralds. Hinting that bringing them to Black Doom will reveal Shadow's past, Shadow heads towards the city in search of them. The game's main principle is like a regular Sonic game. You know, getting from point A to point B using your speed. Fun, right? However, in several ways, the game just doesn't stick to what a Sonic game should play like, but we'll get to that in a bit. So as you start a level, or usually play about 5 to 15 seconds into it, you will have the choice on which mode you will want to play, between
Why is
normal,
the homing
hero,
attack
and
so
dark.
slow?
In normal
Yeah.
mode, you will get to the end of the level by fighting off any kind of enemy and obtaining a Chaos Emerald at the end. In hero mode, Sonic or a Sonic character will join up with you near the beginning of the level and tell you what you need to do, such as killing off all the black aliens in the level. In dark mode, Black Doom will accompany you as you progress and will give you directions on what you need to do in the level, such as killing off every gun unit in the level or setting off a certain number of bombs in the level. Now the thing is, depending on which mode you choose to accomplish within each level, the story will be changed up. Not by a lot, but some. This map shows you which stages you will play, depending
Too
on which
close to
mode
the
you
mic.
complete in
Yeah.
each level. This is a great setup for replayability. But replayability isn't all that great if the game isn't fun to play, and that's usually the case with this game. I don't understand what happened. SA1, SA2, and Sonic Heroes all had, in my opinion, great gameplay, due to great controls and mechanics, and at a minimal, a decent camera. But that's not what I found in Shadow the Hedgehog, which doesn't make sense, since this game precedes the first three. Why fix something that's not
succeeds.
broken? To begin with the
Yeah.
flaws, the
Oh,
mechanics
man.
of this game can
One
just
word.
be so frustrating. It's not necessarily that the controls are bad,
That's
even though
one.
Shadow's homing attack can mess you up. It's the mechanics of the game. Moving
What
Shadow
the
around
heck?
feels like you're constantly skating on ice, which can
Oh.
seriously throw you off and make it difficult
That
when you're
was
trying to
two.
get through the level. The camera can be very frustrating.
Wait,
It
what
will
was the
give you
mistake?
awkward viewing angles,
I
and
said
mixing it with
that
Shadow's
it's
ice
not the controls that are bad, it's the mechanics of the controls. And what I was trying to explain was because he's not technically running on the ground, he's like hovering.
Mm-hmm.
The mechanic of his shoes, of what they are, makes it feel like you're on ice. But translate that to the player, it's the controls that are bad, not the
I guess.
mechanics.
Well, I mean, he didn't run like that in Sonic Adventure 2 or Sonic Heroes.
right. So
So-
the controls are bad, not the
Yeah.
mechanics. And I said it wrong. So there's another thing that I need to redo.
skating can end with you getting
But do you
damaged
really
or
want to
even
play this
dying.
game again
No.
The
To
newest
review it?
feature that
Do I
probably
own
most
it?
people saw at first was
I
that
don't
now
think
you
I
can
own
take
it.
out enemies with guns. Guns?
it's right there.
Really? Why in the world would you need guns while playing? If you're playing as Dr. Robotnik, then I guess I could understand. But seriously,
Oh, there it is.
when did the homing attack become boring? Now, if you haven't played this yet, the atmosphere of the whole game is dark. I mean, darker than a regular Sonic game usually is, and adding in the use of guns is supposed to add to the dark character of the game. The problem for me is, it's so abstract from what a Sonic game is.
Oh.
This isn't Resident Evil, or Halo, or Counter-Strike. It's a Sonic game. No,
And
Abstract doesn't sound like the right word.
I was gonna say, I feel like the fan base for this game, you either love it or you hate it, and the people who love it are like, it's a Shadow game, not a Sonic game. I'm like, give me a break. It's a Sonic game. Don't give me it's a Shadow game.
Oh, you don't get to play as Sonic, but you know what I mean. Anyway, the gun element, in my opinion, is just pointless. Yes, you do need to use it sometimes
Get
in
it?
some of the
Point.
levels,
Yeah.
but for me, it's just not that fun. There really isn't a targeting system. There kinda is, but not really. It can get annoying and frustrating trying to shoot down enemies who aren't right in front of you. To add to the darkness of the game, not only Shadow, but other Sonic characters use swearing. Again, what's the point? It's completely unnecessary, and for me, kind of ruins the Sonic world in a disappointing way. Now, they don't use extreme swearing, but still, it's just not needed. The graphics were pretty good. It was very Sonic Adventure 2. It was hard to tell whether or not it was better or worse or even the same as SA2. I honestly thought Sonic Heroes had better graphics. Not really an issue, but I think it could have been a little better. The voice acting was actually pretty good in some parts. However, the voice actress for Rouge was just blah. Stoic much? It seemed like she had virtually no emotion. Doesn't affect the gameplay, but it's still annoying. Nevertheless, I'd say the overall voice acting was pretty good. The level designs were mostly disappointing. It was more jumping and platforming rather than speeding down a path. And when you did get to speed down a path, it would sometimes seem like enemies would pop out of nowhere and hurt you if you touched them. Shadow's supposed to be fast, but his speed is not demonstrated well in this game. The boss battles weren't too bad. Some of them were pretty fun.
hated that
However, due to
boss. It
Shadow
was really
skating on
annoying.
ice and the homing attack not working properly a good amount of the time,
dumb.
the boss battles weren't as fun as they seemed like they could have been. You have two gauges at the top left and right of the screen. These gauges will fill up depending on which enemies you destroy. If you kill off human soldiers, the left gauge will fill up, and if you kill off the black enemies, the right gauge will fill up. When a gauge is full, you will be able to perform either Chaos Control, which will let you fly through the air at super fast speeds, or slow or stop time during boss battles, or perform Chaos Blast, which will cause a big powerful explosion surrounding Shadow, which can do high damage to all enemies within range. Alright, to be fair, I admit this game can be fun at points. It's not horrible. It is fun enough to keep playing the levels over again to see where the game takes you when you complete a different mode. Some might say that the game just has a steep learning curve. I don't really agree with this though. It feels like the game was rushed. I wish the developers paid more attention to fixing the flaws. Shadow the Hedgehog is not very good. Due to frustrating controls, frustrating mechanics, and a frustrating camera, this game is just frustrating. Now, I do admit that it can be fun at points, and there is a high amount of replayability, but most of it feels like work rather than fun. It feels rushed, and several elements of the game are just not what a Sonic game, or a Sonic spin-off, if you will, should feel like. Now, if you like this game, that's totally fine. I'm happy that you enjoy it. I'm a bit confused if you do, but that's your opinion. In my opinion, though, I just don't really like it. This game gets a 2.5 out of 5 with a title of bad.
Perfect.
That was delayed.
Yeah. Can you scroll up to the comments? There's actually a glitch in Shadow the Hedgehog when you press X and Y on a saving point. You can actually use Chaos Control to breeze your way through the levels. Huh. Oh, on a saving point. Yeah, okay.
Sonic. Oh, going back to Sonic Heroes, had only 2 level designers. 2 level designers.
2 level designers?
One of whom became sick and passed all of his duties to Takashi Iizuka, who was forced to create the last few levels entirely.
Wow.
Is that true?
For real?
That's incredible, if it is. The resulting crunch led to Iizuka losing 22 pounds just to finish the game on time.
Oh my gosh.
What? Man. Referring to Shadow the Hedgehog, Mr. Toad Gamer, bro, this is close enough. Just call it a Sonic game. That's what I say.
It's
not
like
a Shadow. Now, if there were multiple Shadow the Hedgehog games that played like that, okay, I could see that. But there's only one, and it's a Sonic game. It just is. I don't care that Shadow's the main character.
Shadow the Hedgehog seems like a game a bunch of kids only liked for nostalgia and defended from that alone. I can see that. But I played that game as a kid and I still didn't like it. It just didn't it didn't have that same snappy like movement and controls as SA1, 2 and Heroes.
Yep. Okay. Well, it's 9 o'clock. We've been going for 2.5 hours now. How you feeling?
I think we can do a couple more.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go with Sonic Colors.
It's time for the Sonic Colors review for the Wii. Before we start, I would just like to say, hooray! This is my second anniversary review, and I would just like to say thank you to all of you who have supported me throughout the years. It's been very fun reviewing games since I started back on June 9, 2009. So thank you again to all my viewers and subscribers. You guys and gals are awesome. So here we go, on to the review. So I know I'm going to get asked this, so I'll just say my answer right now. I think Sonic Colors is an okay name. It's not the best, but I understand why Sonic
there was a
team
lot
decided
of
to go with
controversy
it.
over the name.
The story in this game is about, well,
I think it's fine.
actually, you don't get to know the story at first. As soon as you pick a save file, you are instantly shown the beginning screen for the first level. Now
That's
that was
nice.
fast.
I like that.
I was very surprised by it. You don't get into the story until you've completed a few levels first. I like this change. Once you finally do complete the first few levels, a cutscene appears showing Sonic and Tails in Dr. Robotnik's interstellar theme park. Where in the world does he get his funds and resources? Oh, Dr. Robotnik, that's what we love about you. So full of mystery, evilness, and blubber.
What?
Anyway, Sonic and Tails have found an alien, and Tails is trying to communicate with it. You find out that, surprisingly, Dr. Robotnik is trying to take over the world, universe this time, by harnessing the powers of the aliens, which are called Wisps. So, of course, it's up to you to stop him with Sonic. Remember when people said that they loved the daytime stages in Sonic Unleashed, and that they wish Sonic Team would create a game with just daytime levels and forget the
think you're
nighttime
supposed to
stages?
boost through
Well, that's
those.
exactly what Sonic
Yeah.
Colors is. In each stage, you will get to play as Sonic in a 3D environment, as well as a
I
2.5D.
don't want to boost to win.
The game
all
is
the
very
time.
fast, and it gets even faster when you use Sonic's boost ability. As you first start playing the game, you will find white wisps throughout the stages, which when obtained by Sonic, will fill up his boost gauge. As I just said, you can use this boost to run super fast throughout the stages, and as an added bonus, nearby rings will fly to you, which is pretty cool. All this, and more, well, just that, can be done as long as you have energy in the gauge. Now, as
I'm
you
so
play through,
dumb.
you will find new wisps which, when obtained, can give Sonic a new ability temporarily. One of them is the laser ability. When you obtain the laser wisp, shake the Wiimote to send a guideline protruding from Sonic, and when the line is set to where you want it, Sonic will shoot in the direction of the guideline at a blistering speed. There are many parts and levels where you can shoot at crystals, which are set to send Sonic on a predestined path, usually filled with rings and or enemies to explode. Very cool. Another wisp gives Sonic the drill ability. If Sonic
like
is
the
standing
drill
on the
ability,
correct
it's
ground,
fun.
he can turn into a speedy drill which can open up new paths to take, as well as getting more rings and items. Now make sure you get to the top of the land or in a safe zone underground before the drill gauge is depleted,
Or else you will die.
and will have to start from your last checkpoint. One of my favorite wisp powers is when Sonic turns into this green hover thing. At first I was like, okay, so he hovers slowly? Maybe I should read the manual first, because if you can find a path of rings, Sonic can follow them in this form, which I thought was really cool. There are a few more wisp powers which are all very cool, as you will see in the footage later on. The main menu map will show you Dr. Robotnik's entire theme park. You can point and click to which part of the park you want to play levels in. While in an area of the park, the map is set up like Sonic Shuffle. Eh? Anyone remember?
Is
Good
it?
times. Anyway, you can move Sonic to a different spot on the map to play a level. The graphics are fantastic. I thought Sonic Unleashed looked amazing,
Yeah,
but
this looks
Sonic
really
Colors topped
good.
it. Every stage
Look
is
at
so
this.
vibrant and colorful, which you would hope so, since the game is called Sonic Colors. Yeah, I know, that's not really the point of the title. But anyway, the point is Sonic Team did an amazing job with the visuals. The controls are very spot on. There are a few control methods you can choose from, such as the Wiimote Nunchuck Combo or the GameCube controller, but I just stuck with the Wiimote Nunchuck Combo because it worked just fine for me. The only thing I can really find an issue with is controlling Sonic while he's jumping when in a 2.5D part of a level. Sometimes it could become a hassle in trying to direct him somewhere while he's in the air, because it sometimes felt
Yeah,
he
I
could
remember
stop
not
on a
liking this
dime while
part
in
of the
midair,
game.
which happens if you let go of the control stick too soon, therefore he would
Ugh.
fall too soon rather than where you wanted him to go. Or sometimes he would move too fast, I know, Sonic, too fast, while in the air, and he would go too far. Other than those
Gosh,
annoyances,
that
the
looks
controls
annoying.
were virtually perfect. The level designs were very well done. The only thing I wish the developers did differently was giving more time to the 3D parts in the stages. The 2.5D areas are cool and fun, but I like the 3D areas the best. This game offers a lot of replayability. Due to special red coins scattered throughout each level, there are quite a few different
They're
paths
red
you can
rings,
take in
not
each level,
coins.
Yeah.
which, by the way, I really liked and appreciated, something I found that Sonic Unleashed didn't have enough of, and being graded at the end of each level can give you incentive to replay the level for the best possible grade. Two things that I noticed that are a disappointment for me is that Sonic doesn't have his spin dash, nor does he have his light speed dash in this game. That totally sucks! I love using those moves. Now there is a wisp that can give Sonic an ability like his spin dash, but it's not the same. And as for his light speed dash, the closest thing that comes to it is when Sonic is using the green wisp's power. It's really not a huge issue, but it's still disappointing. Sonic does have the ability to slam into the ground while in the air, which is pretty cool, but I'd rather have the spin and light speed dash. Another disappointment was the enemies. Just look at this. Tell me what's wrong with this picture. Don't you think it would make more sense if the robots charged at Sonic rather than stand in one
Wow.
place? And don't you think it would make sense if, oh, I don't know, their sword
What
slashes
the
actually make
heck?
contact and hurt Sonic when he's just standing
I
right
didn't know
next to
that.
them? The only way he gets hurt by those enemies is if he, yep, you got it, touches them. The voice acting was okay. Well, actually, I'd say the voice acting was pretty good. It was the script that had me rolling my eyes. You can really tell the script was intended for young minds, which is completely fine. It just wasn't for me. And as for Sonic and Tails' new voices, I thought they were okay. It sounds like both of them grew up, which is a good thing for Tails. He finally doesn't sound like a 5-year-old girl. Overall, the voice acting was pretty good. The boss battles were fun, and some of them could be quite challenging, while others were a little too easy. With some boss battles, you will use specific wisps to defeat your opponent. There is a 2-player co-op mode which I wish I could show you, however I couldn't get footage since I had no one to play with. So because of that, I'm not going to judge it. There's a challenge mode where you can play every and any level and then upload your score to online leaderboards, which is pretty cool. Sonic Colors is an amazing game. For me, this is the best Sonic game since Sonic Adventure 2 Battle for the GameCube. It's not my favorite Sonic game, but it's really close. Amazing graphics, nearly perfect controls, lots of replayability, great level design, and fantastic sense of speed truly make this an awesome Sonic game. However, the main downsides I found were 1. Controlling Sonic while in midair in a 2.5D part of the game can get pretty annoying. 2. The enemies were sometimes ridiculous by just standing in one spot. And 3. Even though the levels are amazing, I would have liked it better if there were more 3D areas rather than 2.5D areas. But overall, this is a great Sonic game that I'm sure you will enjoy. If you like the daytime stages in Sonic Unleashed, then you will love playing Sonic Colors. This game gets a 4.5 out of 5 with the title
That's
of
awesome.
Epic.
Did you ever beat that game?
Nope.
I don't think I did either.
I got really close and just got busy with other things.
I would recommend Sonic Frontiers. It definitely has a better story that was better written, and the characters get some time for development. Plus, it was done by the creator of Sonic Archie comics.
Mr. Toad Gamer never really got into Sonic games that much, but colors always looked really fun. If you want to get into Sonic games, 3D Sonic games,
Colors is a good start.
Colors is a good start, but I would go with SA2. You can pretty much skip SA1 if you want to get into it. SA2 and Colors are probably the best. So I have not played Frontiers.
Sonic Adventure 2 has like a little like some rough edges, but if you can stick with it, man, it's so much fun.
Yep.
Last one?
Yeah. This is actually more than I thought we would watch, so we're doing good.
It's time for the Elebits review for the Wii. Elebits was first released a few weeks after the Wii was released. The game is pretty much a tech demo, so let's see what it has to offer. The story is played out in storybook form, and it's about Kai, a young boy who hates Elebits because his parents seem to spend more time studying Elebits than spending time with him. One night, the power goes out, and Kai's parents leave him at the house to go see what has happened, and so the game starts. The point of the game is to use a type of laser capture gun and go around rooms of Kai's house, as well as outside in later levels, and capture Elebits. Elebits are little creatures that generate electricity. They love to hide in small areas, behind objects, and inconspicuous places. When you find an Elebit and capture it with your gun, it will be transferred to you and give you electrical power in the form of watts. To complete a level, you will have to get X amount of watts by capturing Elebits. At the beginning of each level, the power will be out and the room will be a bit dark. Once you start capturing Elebits, the room will gradually become brighter, doors will become unlocked, and appliances and machines will become available for you to turn on depending on how many watts you have. There are two species of Elebits, so to speak. Watt Elebits, as I like to call them, will give you watts which will power on the lights, appliances, and machines in the house. Then there are the power Elebits, which are only obtainable when appliances and machines become available to you. Once you turn on a device, power Elebits will pop out, and obtaining them will give your capture gun more power and eventually level it up. Your gun is not only used to capture Elebits, but it is also used to move objects around, press buttons, and open doors. The thing is, though, your gun is very weak in the beginning of the level, and it won't be able to pick up and move very many objects. However, once you acquire enough power Elebits, your gun will level up, giving you power to lift up heavier objects. There's actually quite a bit of strategy in this hide-and-go-seek game. If you capture an Elebit while it's sleeping or in a happy state, it will give you the highest potential of watts. If you capture it in a neutral state, it will give you a medium amount of watts, and if you capture it in a frightened state, it will give you a low amount of watts. So instead of hurling around any and all objects you can find in each room, which will upset the Elebits, you'll want to capture Elebits when they're not scared and running around. In each stage, you have a time limit, and if you can acquire enough watts to complete the level before time runs out, you can either go to the next level or stay and try to find as many elements as you can before time runs out. There are benefits of staying and searching for as many elements as you can, because there are certain variables in each level which, if you can obtain them, can give you bonus level modes and bonus material. Once you do complete a level, your score will be shown, which will give you a determined grade. In each level, there are items which can either give you a special ability, such as a homing attack to your gun, or objects to affect the elements with, such as an element cookie, which will make nearby elements happy, which then you can capture for high amounts of watts. The graphics are good. It's cartoony, nothing really special, but not bland or grainy. There are flashy moments, which look pretty cool, but overall it's just okay. The controls are great for the most part. It's mainly point and shoot with the Wiimote and move around with the nunchuck. Press both A and B together to pick up an item and move it around with the Wiimote. It's overall pretty good. However, the controls for when you're trying to open a door could become very frustrating. You're supposed to press both A and B on the Wiimote simultaneously, then rotate the Wiimote like you would with a door handle, then either push forward or pull back with the Wiimote like you would to open a door. The problem is pushing and pulling. The sensors would frequently not read my movements correctly, and the door would either not open at all or would open up way too fast, then bounce back to its closed state. This happened way too much and was very irritating. With certain appliances or machines, you would have to perform a specific action in order for you to press the button to get the power elements. Like for example, with the toaster, you would have to put a slice of bread in it to be able to turn it on.
You know what they say, all toasters toast toast.
However, sometimes when you would pick up an object,
why
you would
did
have
you
to
add that
rotate it with the Wiimote in order to
scream?
put it in a machine,
What?
which could actually be very
Say, all toasters toast toast.
However, sometimes when you would pick up an object, you would
I
have to
did not
rotate it with
remember
the
that.
Wiimote in order to put it in a machine, which could actually be very challenging and frustrating. And it doesn't help when you see that you're wasting your
Why
time
the
limit trying to get
scream
something
is
to
so
work.
weird.
There are a few boss battles which are pretty fun. You have to capture a giant element by breaking it into smaller elements by shooting it multiple times. In the later levels, you will be given new variables to up the challenge level, such as, in certain levels, you can only break a certain number of items or else you would have to start over, and in others, you can't make too much noise. This was bittersweet in my opinion. Well, more bitter than sweet. On the pro side, I like the new challenge, but on the con side, I want to be able to break as many objects as I want and not worry about the decibel level. It overall decreased the fun factor for me. The voice acting is just terrible.
Kai, are you okay? Your mom and I are looking into what has been happening around the world.
What?
Whatever it is, it's causing all the elements to act pretty strangely.
Wow.
It's not safe. You'd better take my capture gun.
Now, it doesn't
Wow,
affect the
that's
game that
really
much,
bad.
but wow, it just sucks. There's a multiplayer mode which can be fun, but also very frustrating. You've got up to 4 laser beams all trying to capture elements to get the most points, but you've also got up to 4 laser beams trying to move objects out of the way, which can cause more of a mess than anything. It's fun, but can be very frustrating. Also, it seemed like Player 1 had an unfair advantage, since Player 1 controlled the camera. There's also a stage builder where you can place objects wherever you want in a room, as well as hiding the elements to capture. This game isn't really bad, but the main problem I have with it is that it can become really boring to play. The game is really easy, and it's the same thing in every level, which, I know many great games are like that, but this game just doesn't keep my interest very well. There's no pizzazz, you know? Nothing really to keep me going, other than the fact that I would want to complete it. Elebits is a pretty good game, especially to people who would enjoy a hide-and-seek game. Graphics are good, controls are good for the most part, the items are pretty cool, and there is quite a bit of strategy. However, I found the game to be too easy, a part of the control scheme can be very frustrating, and for me, the game can just become pretty boring. It's still not a bad game, but I don't think I'd recommend it to everyone. I think it would be good for young kids and or people who would like a hide-and-seek game. This game gets a 3 out of 5 with the title of good.
The gameplay loop reminds me a lot of Katamari Damacy, where you as you collect more things, you open up more areas to collect more things, and it's also in a suburban kind of environment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm acting. I totally forgot I put that in there.
Fail.
Fail was like the word to use
Yeah.
in like 2010.
Yeah. Early internet stuff.
Well, Toast. I have not played Hotel Mario, but Lizzie has.
Oh, really? She has?
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, she didn't really grow
Did
up...
she, like, emulate it or something?
No, she had it for it was PC, right?
It's for Philips CDI. She had a CDI?
No. I know she played it on the PC, so it must have been something else. Anyway,
must have been an
she didn't really grow up with, I'll say, conventional video games. She had what we were talking about earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And that was one of them. And she was very young, she said, and she liked it, but, I mean, she didn't really have anything to compare it to.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then I showed her the light.
Or the darkness, depending on who you ask.
Jordan. Okay, well, we're going to end it here. We're going over almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we're going to begin with Spyborgs. And thanks for coming in.
How far do you think we are? Like what percentage?
We're over 100, so we're over halfway there.
Okay.
Yeah. I think.
Well,
wait, no, we're not.
100, we would have a new
intro.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to halfway. Anyway, thanks again for coming out tonight, and just look forward to the next announcement short that I usually upload. And if any of you want to join the Discord, I will leave the link available on this stream after I end it. Just come back to it just a minute or so, and you can join there. And it's only good for it's temporarily active. So, all right, we'll see you guys later. Thanks again for coming out. Have a good night.
Bye.